Okay, sorry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's another frosty day and more snow plowing, all that good stuff, or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, we will reconvene this morning at 9, December 11th. Wow. Okay. According to my book.
Mr. Mayor, I just need a motion to reconvene before we get started.
McHugh and Armstrong, or McHugh and Siddall, or somebody else. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay, Dr. Oglaza.
Your Worship, just public input first.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone for public input?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Very top, public input.
Look at it. Anyone for public input? Anyone here for public input? Come on up. Then we'll go with Dr. Glass. Morning.
Morning, Mayor and members of Council. My name is Gus Mascia. I've lived in Quinte West for the last 14 years, having being transferred here from the military. Retired 8 years ago, and I've lived on Zion Road for the last 14 years of them. Love this city. We decided to stay here after my retirement from the military. Some of my background is I was a master warrant officer in charge of the fleet here in CFB Trenton, which encompassed over 2,000 vehicles and a budget of $2.6 million for the clearing of snow and all that. So I'm familiar with budgets and how to deal with overrides. And so aside from my own personal budget at home, I have some experience, as most of you do, so I just want to make sure I'm just not talking out of my you-know-what. I'm standing here because the residents of this city have reached a breaking point. We received yet another property tax increase from the City Council. I've been here 14 years. Every year you guys seem to raise taxes. I'm here to tell you that the well has run dry or is pretty damn close. We've all had our wells drying up this summer. Money's drying up also. You cannot continue viewing homeowners of this city and the taxpayers as your personal ATM. It's that much,
Yeah,
right?
necessary.
It's not, I'm not insulting you.
Okay,
I'm just telling you.
Just remember, I've lived here over 80 years, and I pay taxes every year the same as
Doesn't
you
mean
do.
that you
So
have
does
more rights
everybody
than
else.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Thanks. In the private sector, when costs go up, we make hard decisions. We cut the fat, but this administration seems to operate under the assumption that the revenue stream is endless. I see glaring inefficiencies that you haven't looked at hard enough for savings. First, the fleet. Drive down any streets of this city, you see trucks, cars with single occupants. Why are we burning fuel and adding wear and tear to massive trucks to transport one person? And that includes construction crews and all that. It is wasteful. It's exactly how many it's wasteful and not an efficient way to handle your fleet and our money. Many times I drive around the city, either with my motorcycle or ATV, and I see city employed or city vehicles parked in private properties. So if this is a tax benefit, it doesn't benefit the taxpayers themselves. And even if they get taxed on it, which I know they do, because it's a benefit and all that, there's no benefit to the taxpayers. It's still costing taxpayers money, regardless if the employee gets a T4 at the end of the year. Second, discretionary spending. There's a plethora of things that we could talk about, but the two things that I'd like to mention are the flowers around the city and the marina. I see the city continue to plant elaborate flower beds This requires the hiring of more additional people, your students that you hire every summer, and fuel and watering trucks to beautify the city, which is a nice thing. We all want a beautiful city, but when we're asking taxpayers for more money, I don't think taxpayers really care about flowers as much as the bottom line, which is their money. Like, I don't plant flowers if I don't have the money. And then there's the marina. I speak to you not only as a taxpayer, but as a current user of the marina. I've used the marina for the last 4 years. It's a lovely marina. It's one of the best I've ever been to. We should all be proud of how it looks like, what it looks like and what it's done to bring, Trenton into the loop that everybody does. It's something that I haven't done, but people that do. But it's a beautiful marina. I'm not going to take that away. But if it can't survive on its own by the user fees, then taxpayers should not be used for a marina that only benefits a few. And the economic spin-off does not justify the cost associated. It either stands on its own, or it floats on its own, or it sinks. And especially that since we don't even own the land that it's on. Don't get me wrong, I love the marina. It's a great facility, but no tax dollars should be used to keep that thing afloat. The police budget. The biggest item in any municipality is always the police budget. There is no end to what they ask. They ask, they get. There's nothing that you or city council can do. But something has they need to start looking at a little bit better management or something. We need to do something better because there is no police presence in this city. You drive around the city, I don't see any cops driving
No,
around.
listen, if you got a point to make it.
That is my point.
Okay, we've
Thank you,
heard
Mayor.
it. We know, we look at it every day. And there are police vehicles, and there are police officers.
Can I finish?
And we have the complement of
I didn't
police
think
officers.
this was supposed to be a council.
Well, it isn't, but
So-
you're making it that way. Thank you.
Okay.
What else do you have to say?
Can I finish? Or are you just going to interrupt me?
Yeah, I don't have it on here, but.
In the private sectors, when budgets are tight, labor costs are analyzed first, yet we never hear about layoffs in this city. You're not looking at cutting. All you're doing is asking for more money from the city, from the city taxpayers. I'm not trying to dish. It sounds like I'm dishing you. I'm just telling you that people are tired. You should know it. You feel it too. People don't have money to pay their mortgage, but yet here you are, out of touch, arguing with me. I'm paying your salary.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Right? I know you pay taxes too, but it's kind of like, anyways, I'm not going to get in an argument with the mayor. My point is, we don't have money. You need to do better. You need to start cutting some of the fat. You need to come to the realization that taxpayers are losing their homes. We see it here. We see it, people out in the streets, some by their own demise, but every time you guys raise the taxes, it's that closer for us to lose our homes. You might own your own home, but soon enough, we won't be able to pay the property taxes to stay in our homes. I'm retired. I don't have much money. And every time you guys take money out of me, it's not just you, it's the privilege. I go on and on. Please do better. And if I insulted anybody, my intent is not to insult. My intent is to make you guys realize that people are losing their homes and you're not doing enough to cut taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Whoops, I'm gonna shut it off. Dr. Glaser, you're on, please.
Not here. It's not here.
I don't see him either, but there.
Morning, everyone.
There he is.
Can
Good morning.
everyone hear? Good morning, everyone. My name is Piotr Glaza. I'm the Medical Officer Health and CEO at Southeast Public Health. I'm also joined here today by my colleague, John Wixon, who is our Finance Manager. And here together we will walk you through the preview of what's to come for our 2026 budget for the merged agency. Before I start, I just wanted to provide you with a very short recap of how we got there as a merged organization. As you may recall, in August of 2023, the province has announced the initiative of strengthening public health. As part of this initiative, there were a three-pronged approach. One was to offer an opportunity for public health units to merge voluntarily with all the costs of the merger covered by the province. The second prong of that strengthening of public health initiative was to re-examine to what's in scope, what's the role of public health, and that would be done through the revision of Ontario Public Health Standards, which is the overarching document that outlines what local public health units are responsible for. The third prong of this approach was to review the provincial funding formula. As you're all well aware, the cost of delivery of public health programs is by legislation put on municipalities, with the province providing every year a discretionary grant, which has been happening over the years. With this strengthening of public health initiative, the last quarter of 2023 was spent looking at what is the optimal configuration of local public health units merging. That led to the selection agreement that will proceed forward with the feasibility assessment of Lees Grenville Lanark District Health Unit, KFLA Public Health, and Hastings Prince Edward Public Health, exploring that voluntary merger. In the first quarter of 2024, there was a preparation of the business case to the province to outline how that new agency would look like, what costs are associated with the merger, and provide all of these costs to the province as a business case, then to achieve an approval of that merger. There was a round of presentations in March of 2024, prior to the submission of the business case, that was outlining what this merger is about, what to expect from the merger. I'll also highlight the unknowns, which is namely the fact that the new board will look at harmonization of municipal levies, because they were at different levels across the three agencies, as well as the two other unknowns. The service that public health provides would be determined by the revision of the Ontario Public Health Standards, as well as overall costs could be subject to change based on that revision of the funding formula by the province. As I mentioned, none of these two other items, the revision of the public health standards or the revision of the funding formula, has yet been completed by the province. Now, fast forward to the end of 2024. We've been waiting for the decision from the province for a number of months. During that time, the representatives from legacy boards have been meeting regularly to design how that new board would look like, looking at the composition, looking at the bylaws. So we were ready to go as the decision happened and the legal merger occurred January 1st. We were ready with a set of bylaws, with a set of necessary policies that were needed for day one for the new organization to function. We did receive the approval or the information about the merger going through from the province in mid-December, or in early to mid-December 2024. So very late in the year, and most of that December of 2024 was to go through the absolute necessary legal elements that are necessary to bring in the new agency. As we merged in January 2025. January 1st, 2025 was the first board meeting. We joined together as the new organization, called by its legal name Southeast Health Unit. And then since then, we've been working to implement all the elements that we put in the business case, which is merging the teams, setting up the common platform, making sure that we work as one organization, as opposed to the collection of three entities. So that was the part of that journey was to rebrand us to the Southeast Public Health (SCPH). That happened in September. We've since then merged the IT bases. We've combined our teams. We're looking at harmonizations and programs and services within that merged health unit. And now, as a joint organization, as one organization, we serve more than 550,000 people in the Southeast region. With much larger agency comes a larger Board of Health, which now comprises of 12 municipal and 6 provincial appointees. The new organization has 490 staff and 23 volunteers. It covers a region of nearly 20,000 square kilometers and have geographic coverage that includes a number of municipalities, starting with Quinte West. I'll list the other ones in the alphabetical order. City of Belleville, City of Brockville, City of Kingston, County of Frontenac, County of Lennox and Addington, Hastings County, Lanark County, Prince Edward County, Town of Gananoque, Town of Prescott, Town of Smith Falls, and United Counties of Lees and Grenville. I also mentioned that with this larger coverage area, staff, population to serve, this health unit now has moved from a previous budget of under $15 million for HPE for Hastings Prince Edward, which was the organization that we were familiar with in 2024 as a sole agency, to the new number, which is a combine of the 3 budget, nearly 48 million for 2020, looking at 48 million for 2026. It's also important to note that the budget, even though the budget is larger, the contributions of individual municipalities are still based on population size. So with this preamble, I will pass to my colleague John Wixon to walk you through the numbers and the proposed budget.
Thank you, Dr. Oglaza. Let me just, if it's okay, I'll share my screen here. Is everyone able to see my mouse dancing around?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Alrighty, so we did include this in your agenda package there. I won't bore you with all the nitty-gritty of all the numbers, so we will skip forward a little bit and talk about sort of what's happened in a couple of the months here. So we'll skip forward to page 6, please. So this is the budget that Dr. Oglaza was referencing for 2025. So back in February, we did present that combined budget to the board, but I just want to point out right away, the red highlighted number there, we're using about $1.5 million from this voluntary merger funding that we received, as Dr. Oglaza mentioned, for staffing stabilization. The new health unit inherited some debt from our legacy agencies, and so as we work through 2025, 2026, and 2027, we're actually looking at operational efficiencies and how we can address that, because that merger funding is really just one-time funding and it won't exist past, Q1 of 2027. So it is top of mind as we look for operational efficiencies. So that's February, sort of setting the stage for the new agency. We flip forward to April. Again, we kind of talked to the board and again about the different contribution rates from the different legacy health units and municipalities. And really what needs to happen, as Dr. Oglaza says, we need to come up with basically a harmonized per capita rate so that it is equal across our entire region. That's really what we started talking about in April. As well, we started thinking about, going to page 8, what does it look like in 2030? And so, this is no surprise to anyone. If your expenses are increasing at a rate greater than your dollars coming in, so funding for us, you will be in a deficit position effectively, or you'll have a lot of challenges as you move forward. And really, thinking out to 2030, it just compounds each year. Our funding really, for lack of better terms, is about 70% from the provincial government and about 30% from municipalities right now. So in that kind of scenario, we're kind of locked in with a provincial increase of, say, 1% per year. If our expenses are going up at 4% a year, there's a big disconnect there. And so in April, we're starting to think, we may have a deficit in 2030 if no operational efficiencies are found in the range of 12.7 million to about 15.6 million. And so when we presented that to the board, it was directed by the board and recommended by the board that we break that deficit down into sort of 3 buckets. That's kind of how we've been tracking ourselves since then, because it's really nice to communicate to, and it's very tactical. So those 3 buckets highlighted in blue there is basically, a $5 million bucket, find new funding. Awesome. That is something that we'll be looking into when we get more information on the funding formula review that Dr. Oglaza mentioned as one of the 3 prongs of the voluntary merger. So that's more of a 27, 28 sort of initiative. But the other two buckets, an additional $5 million from municipalities and then $5 million from cost savings, those are more within the control of, candidly, the health agency as well as the municipalities that support us. So those are the buckets that we're tackling and looking at right away. And so if we fast forward to September of 25, that's when we, again, start talking about how do we harmonize, what's our target funding level, splits, and all that as we move forward, because we need targets to set goals and objectives and everything. And so it was agreed upon at the board that for 2030, our target funding split would be 67.5 from the province and then 32.5 from the municipalities. This is great. It aligns with the business case that was submitted back in 24, moving towards the higher funding. So that should be all good with the province and keeps all our funding in tow and everything. In October, based on that new funding split, we retroactively went back to Jan 1, 25, so that again, everyone is on the same per capita rate. We did some little math there. Turned out that some municipalities had under-contributed based on the new harmonized per capita rate, and some had over-contributed. However, also within this voluntary merger funding, we had about 4.3 million available to help municipalities harmonize that per capita rate, which was fantastic. So any under contributions for 2025 were taken off that 4.3 million right away. And then the remaining, which is about 2.9 million, was then allocated to various municipalities for their use for future levy offsets. So that amount, so for Quinte West, it has about $390,000 that it can use to help offset future levies for 26, 27. It's really at the discretion of the municipality how they want to offset those future levies all in one shot, or maybe smooth it out and amortize over a couple of years. It's truly at your discretion. But from there, also in October, we presented the 2026 budget. And so really it is technically a balanced budget, but again, we do have about 1.9 million being used from the merger funding. Again, it's not long-term sustainable, but this is for staffing stabilization as we look at operational efficiencies. And you may look at this and say, well, from 25 to 26, that merger funding went up, $360K. But in reality, that's a very small increase to what it could be, because again, our expenses are increasing at, say, a rate of 4%, and the funding is going up at a rate of 1%. The fact that we only need the $300K from the stabilization means that we found operational efficiencies already. So those are thumbs up, and that's a great thing. We really appreciate the support from municipalities as we've been working through those buckets. This next slide here is really just talking about the changes in those municipal levies. We're not trying to hide anything or anything like that. In 2025, we have one column for what was originally invoiced, the impact from the harmonization, and what it looks like in 2026. And the second table there just really shows the impacts from those changes. And this next slide here, this is our revised funding projections, and this is the one we kind of want to focus on. So since April, again, we've had some updates to kind of where we think we're going to be by 2030. We have an update to what we think the provincial municipal funding split will be based on the conversations from September. We went back and recasted our 26 budget. We did a quasi-zero-based budgeting approach, so that was very effective. And you'll see here, after all the recasting and just slotting in the new numbers into our projection model, for those $5 million buckets for the municipalities, we think by 2030, of the $5 million, we'll hit about 3.5 million, so about 70%. So that's great. That's very helpful, and we appreciate that. But of the operational efficiencies, already in the last 6 to 9 months since April and such, of that $5 million bucket, we have about $2 million of operational efficiencies already achieved. So about 40%. So we're well on the way there to hit the 2030 target. More work is needed, more work to come, but this is sort of an update on that journey to hit that bucket. I'll kind of stop there. I'm not sure about the procedural stuff here. If there's questions or anything like that, I think Dr. Vlaza are open to that.
Councillor Card, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Got a few comments here. Thank you for joining us this morning. I do have some extended couple of questions here for Southeastern Public Health representatives. So I have to say I'm really disappointed, just first off, with the budget and some of the local media announcements with the location closings. Just want to run through a few quotes that have kind of circulated in the press during these merger talks, and just you can comment how they seem to not align with the final results for Quinte West here. In a December 6, 2024 Week Standard article, the board chair was quoted as saying, "The merger will strengthen capacity and local health programs and services, resulting in overall healthier communities across the southeastern region." In that same article, Ethan Turnachet was quoted as saying, "The merger strategy was to have all public health agencies have the skills to deliver all core public health services and improve health outcomes while reducing inequities." In the business case for the merger, presented by Sensen New, your consultant cited local communities have low primary care attachment rates due to physician shortage. Thus, the role of the health unit plays an important role in meeting local health needs. The provincial government said that this merger initiative was offered to build a robust public health sector that has the support and resources needed to connect people to faster, more convenient care in their communities. So, given all of these quotes, can you explain for this council and the community how your plan to close the 8 public health locations, including the only Quinte West one, will result in faster, more convenient care with healthier communities and better health outcomes? Because what I see is barriers to access being created, and I'll get to some further questions about the budget numbers, but there isn't even some savings or for the taxpayers to show for it. There's ever increasing asks actually projected. So if you don't mind just starting with that one, I have a couple of follow-ups. Thank you.
Go ahead, thank you.
Thanks so much to your worship. Thank you for raising this. I realize that this is an important topic for all of our communities, is how our services are going to be delivered. In this situation, I recognize that there is a tremendous amount of need for healthcare in the community that you serve. And public health is working together with our colleagues from primary care to fill some of the gaps. As you mentioned, people without access to primary care, they may not have access to immunizations, for example, that others would receive from the primary care office. On that front, there is the plan, the intention is to continue with those services. Some of the operational changes that I haven't yet fully had the opportunity to discuss at the Board of Health meeting. We're aiming to bring that service directly into the community, look at some efficiencies, how we can deliver that service at a lower cost. Again, at this point, I hesitate to provide a more detailed explanation ahead of the discussion at the board. But what I wanted to reassure you is that we recognize the need for these type of services in Quinte West. And we intend to continue providing that service. How we provide that service, whether we bring that service closer to the people through use of other spaces or use of mobile units, that's going to generate efficiencies. But at the bottom line is that if you want to see services, if you want to see services continue, we want to see services continue. We are all working under the pressure of budgetary constraints, and we will provide those. We're committed to provide these services in the most cost-efficient way. Again, more details to come, but I wanted to reassure you that this important work that you value, and I thank you for valuing our work and contribution to the health of your citizens, that work will not stop.
Well, okay, I appreciate that answer. I would suggest that there's a lot of unknowns, variables, and, we're going to, I can't, it sounds irresponsible to me to announce the shuttering of the locations before all of these plans can be presented to these councils, to these communities. I consider that irresponsible, frankly, to not come here with all of these answers, but have an announcement that these locations are going to close. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Health told your board in communication that operational efficiencies, including anticipated efficiencies realized through a reduction of full-time equivalent staff positions, are to be directed to frontline operations and direct service delivery. What what reduction of full-time equivalent staff positions have you achieved? What operational leverage? Can you speak to that a little bit? Because certainly when I think this council, or I speak to myself and the province, clearly expected some operational efficiencies to be achieved through a reduction of full-time equivalent staff. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then I just have a brief final comment.
Okay, Doctor, can you speak to that, Doctor?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. With the presentation that you've heard earlier from John, there was mention of some cost reductions and efficiencies that already have been achieved. I can tell you, without going into the details that impact or would have a connection with identifiable individuals, we've achieved most of our savings through consolidations of senior leadership positions. And any time when we work within the organization, pre-merger or after the merger, any time a position becomes vacant, we evaluate the need, continued need for that position and whether that position is going to be filled. This is a commitment and how we work through these budgetary pressures that John described earlier. This is how we work through that prior to the merger. This is how we'll continue to work during or throughout as a new organization. And that's independent. We would have been under the same pressure and using the same approaches whether or not we'd have merged. The fact that we are merged, the fact that we are a large organization, we have more pool of talent, more pool of staff. So when some of these positions become vacant, we have the opportunity to consolidate, which we wouldn't have if we were operating as three solo agencies with doing that separately. When I have to have these positions that will be necessary to the functioning of the organization. Now we can realize those efficiencies and consolidate and achieve savings. So that's the answer to your question, again, without going into too much of a detail.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that our Director of Finance shared a projection that just based on your future budget guidance that you gave, that our allocation between the percentage change and kind of that funding model change and the continued budget increases that were guided for, that our allocation to public health will approximately double between 2024 and 2029. For me personally, this coupled with deep questions about the amount of service that will be continued to deliver to the Quinte West area, I'm going to move that we send this back to the board and refuse this allocation as of now. I think I would like to see more efficiencies achieved to keep service on the ground for our residents. I don't think that this can be defended as what you're asking for with the cuts.
Dr. Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. and it's very nice to see you, Dr. Oglaza. Karen Sharp here. Don't know if you remember me. We worked on the board for 8 years. I was on the health unit board, so good to see you. I wanted to just really speak to the programming as you go forward. As you know, when we built the building in Belleville, the new health unit with all of our partners, with Quinte West as well, we had the dental program, the cooking classes, the programs for new families and children. We worked closely with Hastings County on food insecurity, the vaccination program. I know you gave me a flu shot. And we had all these great programs, and there is fear about, or I have concern in making sure, because that plan doesn't really seem to be quite there yet, but we want to remove facilities, but we don't know what the options are yet, and I'm not sure that you can reassure us yet. So those are the concerns for me, to make sure those grassroots program, especially for the new families, the moms and fathers that came there to have education about parenting. Like, these are very important programs, as you know, and I really would like to have the programming plan, some assurance there. The other thing I wanted to ask, with the facilities, if you plan to dispose of them, could particularly the one that we have in our health board, could the funds go to a reserve to our particular communities, that we could use those funds to offset operations, or are they going in the bigger pie? Because I really want to make sure, if we're mobiling or we're outreaching or we're renting, that this doesn't cost us more. So these are the things that I'm very concerned about. But I thank you for all that you do and the new amalgamated board, but the programming area is my concern. Thank you.
I'll go this way first. Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. And first of all, I want to say, and anything I say isn't going to be directed against you, Dr. Glazier. I sat on the as a Belleville councillor when we had discussions years ago, and you were our medical doctor of health when we talked about the amalgamating process, and at the time we had decided against it. We as a group not to explore it. In my opinion, and you may want to comment on it, I think what's happening is that municipalities are being pitted against municipalities, and the real person that we should be looking at and blaming is the province. This is a province that's told you that 1% funding per year, that it's so unrealistic that we have to, as a municipality, they believe that healthcare all of a sudden becomes our issue, and not the province's so much, and so we have to go to our taxpayer and seek funding to get realistic funding. 1% increase per year is not attainable. It's not realistic. What are you doing as a group to approach the province and say, we can't go to the well to our taxpayers any longer. You've got to give us realistic funding.
Go ahead, Doctor, if you can give us
Thank you so much. Through Mr. Mayor, I would like to address both of the comments and questions. Thank you so much for raising that, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Boyce. I will start by maybe talking a little bit about the merger, which and the funding issue, which is addressing some of the comments that were made. So the merger the voluntary merger, was the unique opportunity where all the other health units who decided not to merge, they were getting that 1% a year. We got a significant influx of money to improve the infrastructure, to improve the processes and merge the organization. That funding represented, it was quoted by Dr. Kieran Moore, who came to our all staff day not too long ago that this was an influx approximately increase of 20% of our budget compared to what it would have been without the merger. We got the building that was referenced, the mortgage for that building was fully paid by the province. So across the organization, this amounted to over $10 million. So that was a significant influx of money that we would have never had without the merger. And none of the organizations who chose not to merge, they have to deal with the same problem, the same discrepancy between the increasing revenues and increasing costs. So by positioning ourselves, by strengthening ourselves with that, with the merger funding, with the opportunity to bring through organization, we are better positioned to serve our community. We have that more depth, more capacity to respond to crises. And a good example of the crisis that very well many of you remember is when we had the early, even before the pandemic was officially declared, we had repatriations of Canadians through CFB Trenton. We, as a health unit at the time, Hastings Prince Edward Public Health responded to that, but we were not in a good position we didn't have that extra capacity, we didn't have that extra depth to do many things at once. So we are able to do one thing really well. Meanwhile, other health units were able to invest the resources doing other work, preparing long-term care homes for the arrival of the pandemic. We could only do one thing at a time. Now, as a merger agency, if the crisis were to occur again, we'll have sufficient depth to respond to all of these crises that will inevitably come in the future. We don't know what it is yet. But we know it's coming, and we will be ready for it. We'll be better prepared for it because we are stronger together. So that's the benefits that the communities are getting. It's what the new agency could do if there was an emergency. But in terms of day-to-day operations, and Councillor Sharp mentioned that some excellent programs that we were doing. The one caveat that we mentioned during the presentations in March of last year, and I'll mention this today as well, is that our work is guided by the Ontario Public Health Standards. So basically, that would outlines the types of services programs we offer. We know that the province is investing heavily in individual level province services like attaching people to team-based primary care. There's a huge emphasis on that. There's funding that's coming. There's progress to date. And while there's still many people in the region, 16% or so, we've heard these numbers, not attached to primary care, that is going to improve. And also there is other elements of that individual care that are coming, like the expansion of scope of pharmacists to provide care for relatively simple health problems. So all of that is in the context of where is public health fitting in that bigger picture. We don't have our new standards released yet, but what I anticipate from the direction of that new standards is that public health will be positioned in that system as providing that population level services, which are not as well visible, but they're very important, and no other partner in the system is responsible for that. So this is something that will be revisited as these new standards are released, and we'll be providing updates through the board to the communities how that service delivery would look like. What I'm committing our organization and giving you this commitment today is that we will be delivering the core public health services as outlined in the standards. And that's our primary goal and objective. That's our primary responsibility, and we will deliver on that.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill, a comment or a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A comment to our two presenters. First comment, I was very upset that I had to read through the paper that our Quinte West location was going to close. I don't really consider that a partnership when I have to read that through the paper. And I hope you were, well, the other thing too is once a position is gone, you're going to decide whether you need it or not. Like, why aren't you deciding now if those positions are needed or not and getting rid of the people now if they're not needed? I hope you're listening to public input where one of our residents said they're concerned with costs. And why are you going to do that wait till the person decides to quit and not looking at it right away and being proactive. I thought the whole purpose of a merger was to reduce costs. Right now, it looks like our costs are going to be increased. For example, per capita funding, how's that good? You can deliver services cheaper in an urban area than rural. So per capita funding, to me, is flawed. And to say the closing of the Quinte West location will result in increased services, I find that very hard to believe. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comment, Doctor, or?
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your comments. You're absolutely correct in terms of the some of the gaps in communication that occurred throughout this process. This topic goes back to our board on December 17th, and your feedback is absolutely valuable, and I take that all. What I wanted to, I already mentioned, I didn't really want to go into too much of the operational detail, how we are realizing those efficiencies and realizing the need for positions. But that was the approach before. When the position comes up, there's also now the opportunity for us to look at some of the using some of the merger funding to create those opportunities for positions. There's options for the voluntary exit. So there's some element. There's different elements that we can be more proactive than what may have come across from my earlier comment about waiting for opportunities and analyzing. So we are taking an active steps on this account. Again, this is not really going into details of how we're doing it. That's not appropriate for a public meeting, since there might be identifiable individuals involved. But it is something that absolutely your comment or a comment of an earlier presenter, that we need to do better in terms of containing costs. We are doing that, containing costs, by at the same time maintaining services. As I recall, Dr. Moore also used the phrase that really resonated with me. We need to do better, and we need to be doing better things. So it's really something that reflects our approach in improving, offering service, enhanced service, more access in a way that's more cost effective. That's the guiding principle for this. But again, more of that discussion to come at the next board meeting.
Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will try not to repeat everything my colleague said, because I believe that this council has done an excellent job of giving you a number of our issues that we have. But I will say, I've lived in Lanark County, I've worked near Kingston, I live in Hastings, Prince Edward, and the needs for the entire unit are different than I hear what's going on here in Hastings, Prince Edward, and I know some of the services that we received, especially during COVID, not right at the beginning of the pandemic, but in the middle of it, is knowing what the cases were and getting the vaccine pushed out and just keeping the updates to the public. And those are the types of services that I know that brought the health unit up to, top of mind for everybody, knowing that it was there for us, especially some of the programs that Councillor Sharp mentioned as well. They're really important, and we don't want to see those lost. However, all this money that has come into the province, or come into the merger, it's going to disappear. So it's only to amalgamate. I know the board is doing a really, good job and meeting on a regular basis to try and do this. But once that disappears, then I'd like to see what the details are for the long-term plan, because it doesn't seem to me, I mean, we're not going to discuss details today, but when I take a look at some of the numbers, you've got that we're going to be, the province is only going to, our share is 67% is what the province is going to kick in. Well, previous to the merger, 74% was what the province kicked in. So, and you take a look at the different areas, There was always more provincial funding just when the operations were going on. This one-time kick-in and trying to make things better, I don't see that in the long term it actually is going to be better for us. It's going to cost us more money and we're going to see less services. And that's my concern, is where we're going to be at the end of it. What we're dealing with right now, amalgamation, is big. But I'm going to remember as well is that you said to us today that this, with this change, it's going to attach more people to primary health care, and you will have, the health unit will have a sufficient depth to deal with all of this. So those are your words today that you're going to be saying to us, is that this is what's going to happen. So in the future, when we see the long-term detailed plan, I'd like to make sure that the residents actually do have that. They see something coming back from the health unit, that they're still going to get the services that they've been getting. So even with closed doors, somehow those services are going to come back to us.
And I think the problem is the health department has the same issue we have. We're not sure if funding's going to continue. And I think that's the element. The city of Quinte West is not an exception, and we're not unique. We're putting more and more money into healthcare, and it isn't even our responsibility. But that's what we're having to do just to try and continue with a level of service that's acceptable. But it's a challenge for all of us. We need to get at the province. We need to let the Premier know that this funding that they are providing is not sufficient in any shape, way, shape, or form. Thank you. Going this way. Councillor, anybody? Councillor Card.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. And I appreciate the responses and you coming here to present, and I appreciate the dedication to improvement, as you put it. Dedication to improvement in the future is too late for Quinte West in this case. And so I don't know if now is the appropriate time maybe to ask staff, but I would like to move that we reject this allocation, ask and send it back to the board, seeking some of these efficiencies that are envisioned in the future, to actualize them on a quicker time scale, to continue delivering these services to the communities, not closing down. Again, as the province mentioned, the efficiencies realized through a reduction of full-time equivalent staff positions are to be directed to frontline operations and direct service delivery. I believe that's fair. I'm going to move that we, if now is the appropriate time, to send it back with that feedback.
Okay, but let's just give me time to work through all comments here, and then I'll come back to you, okay? Thank you. Councillor Sharp, anything else? No. Councillor Boyce? No, I would second that. Councillor Roseman? No, everybody's good? Okay, Councillor Card.
Yeah, that's a motion, just to reject this.
I'm sorry, I forgot Councillor Quinte and Councillor Reid, sorry. Councillor Quinte, are you here? Someplace?
I have nothing more to add. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, Councillor Card, you're on.
Thank you. I just move that Council reject the funding ask from Southeastern Public Health, and that we ask the board to go back to realize some of these operational efficiencies and reduction of full-time equivalent staff positions, to, however you want to word it, to look at these things, achieve these efficiencies on a quicker timeline, to enable the continued delivery of current services within these communities. I'm happy to have a conversation next year when there is a fully baked plan about how these services can continue to be delivered to communities where these physical locations are shuttered, but that there is no plan at this point as far as I'm concerned. And on the timeline of a few months, it's just that there's no way that this can, in my opinion, be pulled off without hurting our community. Okay. Again, so.
Off!
Councillor Quinte, your mic is on.
Could I have a point of clarification on this?
Yes.
Can we reject there? It's not an ask. Isn't it a requirement that we do have to pay it?
Oh, well, let's ask. I was just going to. CAO or Director Denelden.
Through Your Worship, my understanding is we do have to pay it if the board approves the budget. So it would be similar to the other boards in which we have a board member. We can send that board member back as to try to revise this or push this motion forward.
Yeah, we've done this with many, obviously with some of the conservation. I think it's fair. I think council, it sounds like, is fairly unified on this. We would like to see our location. There just hasn't been a good plan presented here. We want to see the location remain open. Please try to achieve these efficiencies earlier and retain the level of service for the community.
Okay. I'm going to ask board members, any comments from board members at this time? Any? Michael, okay.
I have to be careful for the same reasons
Yes,
Dr.
I know you
Oglaza.
do.
There's
I know.
confidentiality that
I
I've signed
understand.
with the Board of Health, and we are going to meet on the 17th, and I'm happy to bring those concerns of our council to that board.
Okay.
And there is a plan, but similar to what I just mentioned, Dr. Oglaza is bound by confidentiality, and he can't go into all the details.
And I respect that.
Could you also, Councillor Card, ask them to reconsider closing the Quinte West location?
Oh, that's the heart of the order. Yeah, that's the heart of the motion is exactly, to Councillor O'Neill's point. Yes, I in council speaking with one voice on this. You're asking for over this budgeted, the period that you gave budget guidance for, you're asking for a significantly increased funding allocation while closing this is not acceptable. So staff can share the exact wording with you a little bit later, but yes, I think this needs to go back to the board for discussion. Achieving these efficiencies on a quicker timeline should allow you to keep these physical locations open, including in Trenton. I believe that wholeheartedly, and we just have not heard details of a plan to be comfortable with this at all.
All right, I want to assure Dr. Oglaza we have faith in our members who will work diligently to assist you. I see the province cutting making a big hole in the operation, and I don't. It's happening here as well. That's the unfortunate part. And you come back to us, and the province thinks that we have, or somebody thinks we've got a deep pocket, and there's no bottom to it, and that's not realistic. Anyways, thank you very much. Okay. The motion is that this goes back, but I think.
Councillor Quinte finally on. He's finally on.
Oh, Councillor Quinte, are you here? We see him, but then he's gone. So, CO Angelo.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's been a mover and a seconder, but I'm just going to have our city clerk read the motion for all of you to consider.
Okay.
Yep. So the motion that I have right now is that council requests that the Southeast Public Health 2026 budget and 5-year plan be referred back to the board to provide a revised submission that reviews the cost-sharing model, outlines merger benefits and operational efficiencies, and justifies the proposed levy increases, including any service location changes, such as the closure of the Trenton site, while maintaining equitable service and access for Quinte West residents. Is that the gist of?
Well, I would say in service of achieving the continued delivery of service at the physical locations, I think that the wording of that specifically might be set up just to have justification brought back versus actually finding a way to achieve continued operations at those physical locations. Yeah.
Can I ask for just a clarification? Are we specifically asking them to keep this location open? Is that what,
Yes.
can we make that clear in the resolution? Is we want this?
Yeah, I'll add a clause.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I think, still don't see Councillor Quinte, so. All right, well, thank you very much for the information and sharing, and I'm sure board members will look forward to working with you, and we're also going after the province for our share of what we aren't getting, so thank you. Okay. We're now on to Shelley Acker, and she's going to speak to us about the rides that she provides throughout our city. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody, and thank you for having us here. With me today is Darlene Dale. She's the chair of our board, and she's just going to give you some opening remarks. And
there's somebody in this hall that also is on your board, and he creates quite a nuisance, doesn't he? Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we won't mention it.
Awesome, thank you. I just wanted to first open up, thank you, Your Worship, and to council and for staff today for having us here. I don't think I have to speak a whole lot about Quinte Transit, and everyone sees the buses out there. We see the benefits to not only our community at large, but also to our seniors, to our people who have developmental disabilities, to help them be able to access our community, to get to healthcare appointments, to get to school, to get to their jobs, to how important that is. So I just wanted to say that as we were sitting here, there was a busload of kids came in from the high school, which was just great to see. We were watching probably 25 kids come off the bus going, yeah, that's great. So
And it is. And I want to mention a former councillor who was a big supporter of Quinte Transit and the work that you have been able to do with our support, Councillor Wanamaker.
Yes.
He was he was a quiet guy, you know, had a lot in his pockets, but he was always positive about things and helped us move forward. So
yeah,
thank
truly
you.
missed.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
So I will take over and do the boring part and give you some of our statistics and what we've been up to and kind of where we're heading into next year. If I know how to use this. Oh, there we go. So we just wanted to kind of just review our current operations and then what we're moving into for projections for 2026. So currently, we're still running 4 conventional transit routes. So those are the 4 Trenton routes. That's 3 that run just in town, and then 1 that is the connection to Belleville. So that's the one from the town center to Loyalist College. All of these services are running 5 days a week with 2 routes operating on Saturday with limited hours. So we run that from 9 to 5. Then on top of that, so we still run our full complement of specialized and combined with our on-demand service through Monday to Saturday during transit hours. And then we are also still providing some hours outside of those times. That is mostly for folks that do need mobility transportation, just because we're very limited in options in this area. So they really rely on having that available to them. With Christmas coming up, we're just starting to fill up for Christmas Day again, people wanting to get home for dinner and go visit family. We have now, we had 1 new Ford Transit community bus that was expected delivery at the end of this year. It has been postponed to the first part of next year. There was an issue with getting chassis as usual, so it's a little bit on a delayed side. And then we did receive $25,000 from K Stafford Fund again, and that is used towards the purchase of one of those vehicles. So that provides a lot of transportation for medical, for the smaller trips, more economical to run, especially when we're out in rural areas where we don't have the population to support a fixed route service. We also have 1 18-passenger low floor on order. Again, we're hoping, I think the end of February is the expected delivery, and that will be a new bus for the transit services, so we can replace a couple of the, maybe one of the older ones that is costing a little bit more to operate, so we can get a new bus in service there. So going forward for next year, we're looking at putting in another order for 2 more low-floor buses for the transit service. These are the last 2 purchases through the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program that we had applied for and had received funding. So that will be coming up. We're hoping to get delivery towards the end of the year or the first part of 2027. And that funding, again, is the 40% federal, 33.33 provincial, and then 26.67 for the municipal. So we take that out of our reserves that we receive from the city and use that towards the purchases. That program is winding down. So it will be completed, our projection was by 26, 27. But in the meantime, we have submitted a high-level capital plan, which is to the Canadian Public Transit Fund, baseline funding stream. So we applied to that, and we were allocated an amount out of that for a 10-year plan. And that is funding that we could access up to 40% to offset the cost of capital purchases. So we have put into our plan to basically cover rolling stock moving forward over the 10 years. So that will help us keep our fleet maintained, keep it current, cut down on the maintenance and operating of them when they start to wear out. So that should keep us with a current fleet so we can keep providing services. The other part of the ISIP funding that we had was for bike racks. So we did get their bike racks this year, and we have them installed on all of our transit buses. So the bike racks can hold up to 2 bicycles, passenger loaded. So the passenger approaches the front, they deploy the little rack, they mount their bike, they fasten it, they have to take all their personal belongings off, and then we're good to go. So they can connect to some of the trails in the area, or they could connect from Belleville into Trenton, they can bike through. So I think the next slide, there it is there. So that's what it looks like when it's deployed, and then the bikes sit up front, and then when it's not being used, the rack then folds back up to the front of the bus. So going forward, all of the transit buses will have those. We're hoping to see if there's a rack for some of the smaller vehicles that we purchase. So if we go out to some of the outlying areas, people can throw their bike onto those vehicles as well, bring them into town, and then they can bike some of the trails or make connections. Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment. The location of the carrier in the front is a very expensive location. If anything should happen, the front of that truck is like most heavy-duty trucks. The rad system and just behind that grill is humongous. I would suggest you try to locate the rack on the back of the vehicle. That's my comment. Just maybe.
Yeah, I think unfortunately with our buses, because we only have one side entrance, we have an emergency door in the back. So you can't block that entrance. Yeah. Now these are under frame mounted. They use these on all of the other city buses. This is the way that they mount them all. So that's why the 2 bike capacity is on there, and no electric bikes because of the weight of the electric bike and the size. You cannot mount an electric bike onto these carriers. Yep.
Thank you very much. I feel better already.
Oops, got trigger happy here. So onto our ridership. So again, I've done just from January to October that we had for the current ridership, so we can take a look. And we can see it's still gradually increasing as we move along. The specialized, which also includes the on-demand. So on-demand is, just if everybody remembers, those are trips for people that don't qualify for specialized service, but can utilize that specialized service when we're in an area to make connections to either just into town or to other bus services where they can then carry on and make their trip to wherever their end destination is. We started that with, we were seeing about maybe 200 to 300, then we were up around 400 or 500, and now we're seeing anywhere upwards of around 1,500 trips per month just on the on-demand service. So that's what's helping to drive the 35,000 trips for 2025. Transit is up a little bit. Last month and the month before was a little bit of a decrease. A lot of that was due to the strike at the college. A lot of students had stopped going in, and we weren't making as many transfers at the college because it wasn't as convenient. So it kind of put a little bit of slowdown into the transit ridership for those months. But every year we're increasing. More and more people are using it. Like we were talking about with the schools, we're offering a pass program to students so that they can get to school, the ones that were taken off of the school routes. So they have a safe way to get, so some of them don't have to walk down streets where there are no sidewalks, there's no lighting, so they can now access buses that go by their schools every day. So we're hoping that that program will help students get out and find jobs at the end of the day, and get them to programs such as the ones that they go up to at the Y. I skipped another one. So this is the overview of our budget. So we have our 2025 to 2026. We do have, we had funding reduction from last year that we found out about through Hastings County that we've had to now kind of make up in our current budget. And nothing was mentioned this year, no applications went out, so we're assuming that they're not opening up another envelope to help with that. So we have included that shortfall in there, and also from the CEWS reserve, so that was the Canadian wage subsidy that we received during COVID. And we had used that to offset wage increases to retain our drivers and getting more drivers on board as we were running short, so we had to train. So that helped us cover those costs so that we could get there. And now those costs we've had to now include into our regular budget because that funding has now run out as well. So overall, we're looking at just over a 5% increase on the municipal portion of the budget. We're looking for efficiencies in our routes, and if there's possible ways that we can incorporate more of the on-demand service as opposed to some of the fixed route where maybe routes are underutilized, where we can actually service more people without having to add more resources into the mix. This is just a breakdown of kind of where those expenses are. So you can see, you know, our office and admin is like very small. It's 3% of our budget. Our largest, of course, is our employees, and then our next largest is our license repairs and maintenance, which we are hoping will be down next year because in the last couple of years we have had to make some major repairs on some of our vehicles, which should not be repeating, and hopefully will not repeat because we will have newer vehicles by then to replace them. This thing goes quick. I think this is basically everything that I've just talked about. Yeah, the service reductions. And I want to make it clear that when we're looking at these efficiencies, we're looking at ways that will have minimal impact to riders, and like I said, hopefully bolster more service for those that actually need it and the way that they need it. We get calls constantly from people, especially out of town. Medical is becoming a huge issue, so we're going to be looking at possible ways that we can approach for funding. I don't know, through the provincial government or somebody to help with that. And we're looking at ways to start working like partnerships with surrounding municipalities to look at a really regional approach. They're all struggling with the same issues. So if there's a way that we can combine these services, we can move more people, have transfer points, anything that we can do to reduce our costs so that we're not all driving the same roads, we're not all heading to the same places, and just getting more people out there and in the community. And that's the slide. So I will open up for any questions that
Okay,
anybody may have.
we'll open it up to comments or questions. Councillor Boyce, and then I'll come this way, okay? Thank you. Left-handed.
Just really quickly, I'm glad you're accommodating bikes, and I just sent to Councillor Stedel, she'll see on her phone now, that Sportsworks Apex, they make specialized carriers for transit buses. And so she's got the information right now. She'll pass on if you're still looking at still having to purchase them. I know for my vehicle, I bought a specialized rack for. I've got the regular bikes, but I've also got a couple e-bikes too, and the rack I purchased holds comfortably 2 85-pound e-bikes, which seems to be the standard weight. But Councillor Stedel's got the information for the buses now.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on your recent Accessibility Award. And there's so much interest in having this service throughout our community. My question, I too am happy about the racks. My question relates to the your point, Shelley, about medical trips and the need, from hospital to hospital, or individuals needing to get somewhere. And do you go to Picton? Do you go to the Picton Hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so our service area is Picton, and we are contracted for that service as well. So we do fixed route and specialized down there, Brighton and Quinte West. So we are very much commingled because we have a lot of residents that come up to Trenton for certain procedures. We also have a lot of Trenton residents that go to Picton for services
Right.
as well. And then, of course, into Belleville is,
So if you could find some fund related to health support for that component of medical, which I'm sure is getting bigger or greater and greater.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think there's just going to be more pressure. And with talking with the closing of the health unit here, if
Right.
that's going to force people to go to Belleville, it's going to put a big strain on how they're going to get there because people just can't afford transportation in this area all the time on their own. So,
Right. And my last question relates to your revenue. It looks like it's indicating less, and that's because of the Hastings County Fund, and that allocation's only based upon the province, and that fund is no longer related to that particular, because I sit on that, and there are other agencies that unfortunately, it just keeps going down and down. So, but your ridership is up, but it can't account for that loss. Is that what I'm seeing?
not all of it, because you won't recoup enough in the fares. The fare recovery isn't great enough to cover that service.
That loss, okay.
But the increase in the ridership is being utilized more through the resources we already have without adding more resources to the pot. So we're just trying to get more people in the vehicles, not that we already have out there, so we can keep providing more service without adding more dollars.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Councillor Quinte.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thanks. I just wanted to say that I think that the transit service is doing an outstanding job with all the challenges that they faced. And I just wanted to comment that I think it's a great service. Keep up the fantastic work if you can. Thank you, and thank you.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, sir. I noticed in the routes, you didn't have one for Frankfurt, and I thought we had one to Frankfurt.
Yes, so we did have Frankfurt as a fixed route through the Community Transportation Grant Program. Unfortunately, a fixed route was not utilized very well. So that route actually has been absorbed through the on-demand. So their ridership actually increased because there's more on-demand service. We generally have a group every day that come out of Frankfurt. They know what time we're there on our specialized pickups now, so they just book their shopping and their trips around that. So we're still bringing lots of people in from Frankfurt and the surrounding area. Just north of Frankfurt is starting to pick up along the Highway 33 corridor. We're seeing a lot more people requesting rides from up there. But again, we're doing that with on-demand because a fixed route wouldn't work up there anyways. So cost-wise, it's just more efficient to bring them all into the on-demand service.
You also mentioned Loyalist College. What was the issue there? Because it was going to Belleville, then to Loyalist?
No, so it was just during the strike because we couldn't get on campus.
Oh, I got you.
And then a lot of the students weren't crossing the line, so a lot of them went to online, so they just weren't utilizing service as much.
Okay.
But it's still, it will pick up.
Oh, yes, yeah, we're back to pretty much
Thank you.
running the full thing again,
Councillor
yeah.
Armstrong, any more?
Also, it's 15 students got off that bus.
Maximum of
15.
18.
It's all right, they all have 2 feet, so.
Yeah.
Councillor Stedall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this, I agree, this is an excellent service. And one thing I did want to say is that there's been a huge growth in the transit and expansion within our city. But the gas tax has not increased. It has stayed the same, and that is one of the things, again, you know, it's kind of a theme, I think, for this budget is that that we keep asking the government, to the province and the feds, to give us more money. And they are giving it to us for the buses. The feds have been giving that, but the provincial gas tax has not increased, even though we've grown. I also wanted to say a kudos to the board because all members of the board are getting out there and really communicating out to the public as best as possible that the service is available. And every year we go to the home show, we always get new people coming saying that they are, not aware, they didn't know we had the service. So I think that communication has been excellent. I just wondered if you wanted to take a minute and talk about the app that is available on the phone to get the service?
Yeah, so last year we introduced a Rides on Demand app. So that is an app that anybody can download, and they can go on and book their own trips. So they can find where their bus stops are. We're just getting an upgrade to that particular app that will now incorporate through Google services. So they will be able to do right from point of wherever they're starting from right to the end. So it will even tie in with the Belleville Transit, so it'll tell them what routes they have to get onto when they get to Belleville. It will tell them how to get to Kingston. You can get here by Via Rail. If you're in Toronto, you can put in what train you're coming in on, and then it will walk you right through the whole service. So that's just coming out, and we're hoping it'll be up and running I'd say by spring of next year. But we find that a lot more people are using it, so people that are very tech savvy and have the ability to do it helps us out a lot because they put their bookings right in. It goes right into our scheduling software. We don't have to do call takers. They can spend time with the folks that need that help getting their bookings in. So anybody can use that app and try to book a ride with us.
Okay, well, while you're mentioning, do you want to mention the K. Stafford Fund? I know you've got how much funding and how many years have you been able to access that
We've
fund?
been getting funding probably for about 13 to 14 years now through K. Stafford. So because they support programs and services that promote healthcare and trips for medical and keeping their communities healthy. So that's what our vehicles are used for, and a lot of our ridership does go to hospitals and goes to medical appointments. So last year we did get $25,000 again from them to support the purchase of a new vehicle.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ms. Ackers, thanks for your comment saying that the health unit closes their offices here. It's going to increase costs for people to go. It's also going to increase time. And that's something else I think we need to point out, that how's that going to help with increased healthcare services? If they have to go somewhere else and spend more time, they may just not do it. I also have one other question.
Go ahead.
In Belleville, I read that they're going to increase their one-way fares from $3.25 to $4. That's like a 23% increase. I'm just wondering what the fares are like in Quinte West.
Yes, so right now, an adult fare on the in-town transit is $2. A senior student and a person with a disability is $1.50. Belleville is $6 for an adult, $5 for a student, senior, or person with a disability. We did look at the fares when we were looking at our budget with the board. But we all felt that trying to increase our ridership and use our resources was a much better fit for our area, as there is so much pressure on people. Sometimes they have a hard time coming up with $2. So I don't think trying to increase it, I think the only thing we do is we force people back in their homes and they don't get to go out as much. So that was the take we took on it, so we've left fares.
Well, that's really great news, and thank you.
Councillor Card?
Thank you, Your Worship. I also wanted to thank you for the presentation and coming today. I actually, it's pointed out with the previous presentation, the fixed route reductions, like service cuts, so to speak, are not necessarily always bad. Like, it sounds like you're pivoting some of those resources to the on-demand trips versus the fixed route, because that's a more efficient use of your resources. That's where the demand is coming, not the specific fixed routes, so you're just pivoting the resources. That's great to hear. You're managing your organization well and effectively. I wanted to say that's great about the app. I'm going to download it, take a look at it. Who helped? Did you create that in-house, or was that like a consultant? Or
I'd love to take the credit, but no. No, it was through our current service provider that we have all our programming through.
Okay.
So it was an app that they developed, but we partnered with Loyalist College. So Loyalist College actually funded the purchase of the app program, And then we looked after the installation part of it, and now the operating of it and the licensing to keep it going.
That's great. I was just going to mention that there are some, because you mentioned about some of the route planning and that, and there are some really powerful AI-based route planning softwares available now. So I was going to suggest, some of those partners maybe that helped you with the app, or Loyalist College might be able to help you use some of those resources. You might even be able to find some other efficiencies with route planning, and stuff might surprise you, but there's some, really powerful stuff available.
Yeah, and we do belong to an association that covers all of Ontario transit properties. So we reach out quite often to TTC, all of the people have a lot of resources to put towards planning. So we get a lot of help from them as well, which is great, and it's all free. They don't charge you anything for it. So, and they're very willing to share anything, policies, anything that has to do with transit. So it's a great resource.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Any more this way? CEO Angelo, can you tell us just a little bit about that building? You know, the one I'm talking about, the one I keep saying the roof's leaking and you say it isn't?
Yes, I can add a couple comments, Your Worship, and thank you. So that was really one of the ventures that I'm extremely proud of. When we built the new operations center in our North Murray Industrial Park, we repurposed an existing facility at 30 Pelham Street to accommodate Quinte Transit and our Trenton Food and Share Bank. So really proud of that accomplishment, and really shows that we're able to redo a building and make a very good useful purpose out of it. The other thing I'm really proud of, and we talk about this a couple of times in the last year or two at the Quinte Transit Board, is that we're broaching 100,000 trips. And we're going to get very close to that in the next couple of years, and that's sort of our goal. And that's, for an operation that's really started out as a volunteer organization a number of years ago, to broach 100,000 trips in a year is really exceptional, and that's what I'm really proud of. So thank you, and a great job from Quinte Transit.
And what else do we have in that facility that we can put perishable items in?
Well, I mentioned that, Your Worship,
Oh, did you?
the Trenton Food Bank, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm I guess focusing on the freezer. Councillor Armstrong, you should make some comments because you're on the rocks in there quite often. You want to tell them some of the good things that you do in there besides eat?
First of all, I watch these folks every day. I watch them on the roads, in the county, et cetera, because what I do is I collect medical equipment and distribute it throughout the Bay of Quinte region, and they've allowed me to use their mezzanine to store a lot of the stuff, but certain things I can't get up to the mezzanine, so I was hoping you were going to be asking for an elevator to be put in there. Just thought I'd ask.
Keep dreaming. Anyone else? Any other comments? Otherwise, thank you very much, and keep those wheels moving.
We'll do our best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Your Worship, did we want to just take a 10-minute break?
We'll take a 10-minute break. I do apologize to the first speaker today because you can see the frustration we all have. We're all trying to look at improvements and so on. So thank you very much. I apologize. I was a little abrupt, I guess. But anyways, thank you very much. Take a 10-minute break. Thank you.
You ready to go?
Yes, we're ready to go. Well, Councilor McHugh, you've got a declaration?
Yeah, I filed it yesterday, just for the public, maybe somebody listening is not aware of it. I had a couple of conflicts of interest, and one is with regard, not with the content of, but I cannot discuss or take part in any vote with anything to do with the Museum of Natural History, and I see we have a presentation coming next, so I'll just slide my chair back and keep my mouth shut. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. All right, you're on. Come on up. Thank you. You don't look like a skeleton that comes from the museum, but
Well, thank you.
I know there's one there. It's called Jane, right?
Mm-hmm. Jane is actually visiting Peterborough right now, and so yeah, she'll be back eventually. Okay.
You know, just before you start,
Yeah.
you know, we're very fortunate in this city to have 8-Wing as part of our municipality. And every time when I hear an airplane, I see money. But they're going to other parts of the world to make things better for other people. So I thank them and appreciate the work they do.
It's like an air show.
Yes.
It's like an air show every day.
It is an air show every day.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I agree. Go ahead.
Okay, well, good morning. I mean, it's still morning. Good morning, Mayor Harrison and members of council. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. And just before I get started, I also want to give a shout out to Quinte Transit for the work that they do. They are often dropping off students and members of the community to the museum so they can experience natural history firsthand. As you probably know, my name is Deanna Way, and I am the Executive Director of the Quinte Museum of Natural History, located right here in Quinte West. So for nearly 4 years, the museum has become a trusted learning space for families, for students, seniors, and residents across Quinte West. We also draw visitors from across the region and increasingly well beyond it, positioning the museum as a tourism asset for the community. At the same time, we are becoming more widely recognized in the museum and tourism sector, and as well as the natural history and science education sectors for our work in public science, STEAM programming, and community-based engagement. Now, this morning, I am here to provide an overview of our operational outlook for the next 2 years and the economic and community impact the museum is already delivering this community. You will see in your package that I sent ahead that we've also provided a longer-term 7-year draft business plan for broader context. However, today's presentation focused specifically on operational stability and capacity, as well as the beginning of our capital advancement, the period most relevant to Council's upcoming decisions. And let's see if I can click this thing. Perfect. Okay, so before we look at the numbers, I just want to begin with a quick snapshot of who we are and why the museum exists, as well as the role we play in Quinte West and the value we bring its residents, schools, and visitors. So the Quinte Museum of Natural History exists to provide accessible, community-focused science and nature education for people of all ages. And we are the only institution of our kind in this region, and we've become the place where visitors can explore natural history in a hands-on and welcoming environment. Our mandate is simple but important. We inspire curiosity, we support STEAM learning, and we build a deeper connection between our community and the natural world around us. We do this through our exhibits, our school programs, workshops, and outreach events. We support learners whether they are 5 years old or they are 85 years old. And a key part of our mandate is affordability. We keep admission costs low at $8 a person. Children 5 and under are free so that the community members can access the museum with minimum barriers. And we make every effort to offer free to participate programming and events throughout the year, including Doors Open, which usually has us completely full all day, bringing in well over 450 people, which has a value of over $3,000 of admission revenue that we give to our community. And this is part because we want to ensure that our residents can engage with science education regardless of income, and that is something we take very seriously. So while community access remains a primary focus, the museum also contributes to the tourism landscape here in the community, and as well as the broader visitor experience in Quinte West. We offer a distinctive science and nature destination that complements our area's current tourism offerings. And at our core, we exist because this community and this city believe there should be a space dedicated to education, discovery, and curiosity-driven learning, and everything we deliver today comes directly from that vision. Okay, so 2025, it was a year of really strong public engagement and important progress for us here at the Quinte Museum of Natural History. Throughout the year, we continued to grow our presence in the community through programs, outreach, and hands-on learning opportunities for everyone. So as you can see in some of those photos, you know, we sponsored a game night with the Belleville Senators, and we had a full suite of dinosaurs roaming around the arena. We also participate in an event called Science Rendezvous, which takes place in Kingston in May of every year, and that draws easily over 4,000 to 5,000 families. And they usually have about 500 families running in the first 15 minutes of opening of that event. We also welcomed over 5,700 visitors this year to the museum, and through our outreach events, we've connected with over 10,000 people just through being in the community. This year was also a year of significant development work. We advanced our High Arctic exhibit, which will be our major feature for 2026.
Yeah, just before you leave that, I'd like to mention our past Councillor Freeman, a big supporter of the museum.
Yes.
But she also went to Alert.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, and it was a great trip, and was retired General Colin Keever, who I guess arranged all the details for us. But I just want to mention there was, and you're talking about the High Arctic exhibit, and you can't get much higher.
Yeah, well, you know, I will say it's sort of the community that had us doing the exhibit on Alert. So we are looking at sort of the biodiversity in the polar biome desert. And we actually had CFS Alert send us down a taxidermied Arctic hare, which is currently on display at the museum until we have the exhibit open to the public. So it was because of the nature of CFB Trenton and all of the flights they do year after year, Operation Box Top, that's sort of where the inspiration for this exhibit came from. And currently at the Air Force Museum, they do have an exhibit on Alert, which is focused more on sort of the military occupation, where we are more focused on sort of the science and research of that area. And the exhibit will also touch on Inuit knowledge as well and Inuit technology as in discussions around climate change.
One more, then I'll shut up, but Noel Funge, he's a member of the retired military, and he did a lot of flying in the north, taking pictures and photographs and establishing boundaries. And he's a fantastic, I think he's 96 going on 97, but he's got a memory sharper than most of us in this room. And he's the kind of guy that you could listen to him till you fall asleep. Anyways, thank you.
Well, I'll have to extend an invitation to the exhibit to him. Okay, where was I? We have been continuing delivering successful programs and events, and when we experience an unexpected exhibit change, so of course Jane is now over at the Peterborough Museum and Archives for a little while, our team quickly adapted, and within 3 weeks we strengthened partnerships in the region, and we launched a brand new exhibit on geology with minimal disruption to our operations. So it's currently on display now, and that was sort of through partnership with the County of Hastings, as well as the Ministry, I want to say, of Mines and Energy out in Tweed. They provided a lot of the geological specimens we now have on display. We also strengthened our financial position as well, and between 2024 and 2025, we secured over $300,000 in grant funding, gifts, and donations, and as well, Research Casting International continues its in-kind support, valued at nearly $70,000 annually, and I would say that that's probably a conservative number because the rentals of these exhibits are quite expensive in the sector, and that just reflects their continued confidence in the museum's direction. Altogether, we found that 2025 reinforced the museum's role as a dynamic, resilient, and community-focused institution. Okay, so using the province of Ontario's tourism regional economic impact model, we have data to support the museum's economic impact since we opened to the public in March of 2022. This model reports economic outcomes by tourism region, for which Quinte West is part of RT09, the Southeastern Ontario tourism region, which also includes areas such as Belleville, Kingston, Prince Edward County, and more. From 2022 to 2025, visitors to the museum generated an estimated $4.56 million in visitor spending within the RT09 region. That spending translates into an estimated $3 million in GDP impact, supported approximately $1.7 million in labor income, and sustained an estimated 43 full-time jobs across the region. And across the same period, the museum also generated an estimated $1.32 million in tax revenue. These numbers are not projections. These are measured outcomes based on our visitor numbers and spending patterns using that model. And what this data shows is that even as a young institution, the museum is contributing meaningfully to the regional economic activity and generating a measurable return on the city's current investment in us so far. So this is just sort of an operating outlook, 2025 to 2027. So for 2025, we are closing the year with a projected surplus of about $50,000 to $51,000, and this reflects a very deliberate and conservative financial approach as we prepare for project deliverables in early 2026. We focus spending on essential operations and the planning work for our High Arctic exhibit, as well as our key 2025-2026 program cycles. Now, in 2026, we are projecting balanced operations with revenues and expenses just being south of $500,000. This represents a full project year, including exhibit implementation, expanded programming. We're expecting increased visitation with the launch of our new exhibit, strengthened community engagement. These numbers reflect our operating costs only, but in the budget, in the package that was sent out, you will see that there was a $50,000 allocation to our capital development, because we also plan for 2026 to be a year that will mark significant progress in capital planning for us. And this money will enable us to begin a new feasibility assessment, architectural renderings, and looking at sites. Now for 2027, we are projecting a modest and manageable variance of about $4,200. This is intentional because we don't have any major exhibits planned for development. So we've designed a leaner budget focused on our core services, strengthening our core services, and preparing for long-term site planning. These projections reflect revenue patterns and confirmed funding cycles, as well as growing private support, including major gifts and in-kind contributions, and that's sort of why we have a bit of a surplus with a year-end major gift that we received. Okay, so why the Natural History Fund matters right now. Looking at our projections, the remaining $50,000 in the city's Natural History Reserve Fund is the piece that allows us to carry the momentum you've all helped create into the next stage. It ensures we can maintain consistent services to our residents, fulfill our grant-funded projects that are already in progress, keep our operations aligned with our growth trajectory laid out in our business plan, and it also allows us to continue advancing the development, the planning required for a permanent home. So this would be a step that strengthens the city's early vision of a natural history museum right here in Quinte West. So using the reserve fund now protects and it amplifies the city's initial investment. It keeps the museum positioned for growth while sustaining the current economic impact that's already being generated. Okay, so the ask, which is this morning and not tonight, is the approval to release the remaining $50,000 from the Natural Histories Reserve Fund in the first quarter of 2026. Looking ahead, we wish to also plant the seeds for next steps in our partnership with the City of Quinte West. We are seeking ongoing support, operational support beginning in 2027. We would be looking at an allocation of municipal owned land. There is a piece on Dufferin Avenue that we have looked at, or a comparable site would also work, and in-kind municipal support for planning, permitting, and site readiness as we move forward towards that future. So, the way I see it is that we are a disciplined and community-focused museum delivering measurable return on the city's current investment. And we see this as a strategic moment for all of us. As you know, there has been return, and with this continued partnership, we can carry this work into the next phase. And by the end of 2026, we expect to have taken tangible steps towards a permanent home, with site options clarified, new feasibility reports being conducted, planning work underway, and we will have a clear path forward for capital development by the end of 2026. And yeah, that's, thank you for your time. I tried to keep this, within 10 minutes, so any questions?
Any questions or
Comments?
comments coming this way? Councillor Katsoulis?
Thank you, Mayor Harrison. How many square footage is your ideal location?
Yes, so right now, sorry.
For your new building, sorry, to clarify, yes.
So anywhere between 35,000 to 50,000 square feet as a facility is sort of what we're benchmarking. We don't want to make it too big, but we do need space to fit dinosaurs and giant, creatures, so.
Okay, and then just a comment. I'm glad that your numbers are up. As a way to maybe explore further savings, there's the taste trail. There's also golf packages that are promoted together. Courses will help promote each other. Have you explored with the RCAF Museum, perhaps in promotional material, this is how you get to our museum, this is how you get to theirs, or trade-offs, maybe like a discount if you attend both in the same day?
Yeah, so I will say there is some nuances when it comes to sharing admission, packages with organizations like this. For example, we are a private, non-for-profit charitable organization, whereas the Air Force Museum is federally funded, so there is some caveats there. However, we do have a very strong relationship with the Air Force Museum, and we are always sharing information, marketing materials, and that sort of thing, and always encouraging people to either visit the Air Force Museum, and then they're encouraging to visit us. We definitely see them as a complement to what we're doing.
Great. Happy to hear that. Thank you.
Councillor Roseblade?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I've been to the museum with my grandchildren, and it's quite something. It's just, I know this was a passion of Councillor Freeman's, and I would like to continue that passion on her behalf. Mm-hmm. You're looking for more operational support in 2027 from the city. Can you kind of give us an idea of what you're looking for? Are you looking for a monetary amount? More like you want us to continue with that?
Yes, I will say in terms of operational support, we would be looking around $60,000 starting in 2027. That would be, I would say a modest contribution to our overall budget, and it does allow like baseline operations, and it also helps us leverage potential granting opportunities as well. It's one of those things that, when we're talking about the province right now and sort of their duties to these cultural institutions, there is a granting process called it's the Community Museums Operating Grant. It sits at a provincial level, and unfortunately it has been locked to new applicants since 2016. So unless you were in that 2016 intake, you cannot access that fund. That fund has also not seen any increase in over 17, 18 years. It is one of the things that in my position, I have joined the Ontario Museum Association Board. I've also joined the RTO9 board, and I am working to open that up to other museums, not just ours, but it is one of those limitations that makes it difficult. But it is also known that most municipalities do support their cultural organizations.
Right. I mean, I support culture for sure. The city does possibly have a piece of property that we could negotiate with. But how many years has it been when you're trying to get grants to build something? And I'm skeptical of that, is if we do come to a contract and have the piece of property ready, where are you going to find the funding to build this massive building?
Yes, there is definitely capital grants available. One through the Ontario Trillium Foundation, as well. Looking at the new federal budget, there is going to be billions of dollars being put into infrastructure. When we think about tourism and building Canada strong, I definitely think that there is room to figure that out. Of course, we don't have that complete outlook yet, but it is something that we will be leveraging federal and provincial dollars to build this, as well as private.
Have you had any private interest? I know they were trying to find somebody maybe who would want to put their name on it, or somebody to come forward with some good support and some funding. Has there been any success with that?
As a matter of fact, yes. I don't want to reveal too much information, but I can confirm we do have private support.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor O'Neill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
When I originally saw the projections, I was very skeptical you'd be successful. I'm impressed that you've done what you have to date, and I'd also like to thank you when you did the presentation or the materials, you provided projections. So this is one where I was very skeptical. I've seen you work very hard for it, and I'd just like to thank you for what you have done so far. I too am skeptical you might be able to build a building, but if that's possible, you've come further than I thought you could. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Councillor O'Neill.
Yeah, good. And Peter May is a fantastic guy. I'm going to Councillor Reid and then Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Our friend Councillor Sally Freeman was so proud of the Quinte Museum of Natural History, and she would be smiling about your presentation and all of your successes. She always believed in you and the importance of the museum, and she was so right. A lot of us were skeptical, but she stuck to her guns, and she would be smiling down from heaven today, seeing the successes that you're having. So with that being said, on her behalf and behalf of all of council, I would like to make the motion that the $50,000 from the Natural History Reserve Fund be granted. If I have a seconder, and if this is the appropriate time to do that.
Could you just hold it till I finish with all the speakers, and I'll come back to you? Is that okay?
I certainly can.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
I was told that Matt and Campbell were in Saudi Arabia or something doing a project. Could you expand on that?
Oh, yeah. So I don't know a whole lot just because RCI is a very different organization than us, but I do know that they just wrapped up a major project in Abu Dhabi. It's quite fantastic. They revealed a mount of 2 T-Rexes fighting each other. So yeah, they've been doing really good work over there.
So they're bringing back some oil money for your project?
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
On another note, you're a geologist background, or you have that kind of background, correct?
So my background is actually more in museum studies with a focus on conservation. So when I used to work at Research Casting International, I was employed as a fossil preparator. And the major project that I was hired to take on was the Smithsonian Deep Time Project. So a majority of those specimens that are on display now in Washington was something that I worked on.
The reason I asked the question is a lot of people have a disagreement about what Mount Pelion is. Is it an esker or a moraine?
I do not have the knowledge to answer that.
I thought I'd ask. It's not, is it a drum?
Sorry, Councillor Carzon.
That's 3 opinions.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Deanna, for the presentation. These are obviously difficult conversations. Just to follow up on Councillor Roseblade's kind of points, it's always difficult. I think trying to balance support for arts and culture in the community. We all agree that's a priority and something we need to do, but obviously doing the due diligence on the organizations that are going to achieve long-term success and have that kind of organic support. I think that's something that I think about that's really important, is that it's one thing to line up private funding or one-time grants to establish the build and get that done and work with the municipality for land or whatnot. But obviously, I think the most crucial component is there organic support within the community in terms of visitors and that tourism being created to support the organization in the long term. I think that the worst case, and think about this a lot right now with budget time, and we have a public input. There's a lot of people really struggling in the community. We're trying to be responsible for taxpayers, and so I think it's just the danger if this isn't, I think, balanced properly and doing our due diligence, is that if it is one-time funding and private streams to build something very large that will have a lot of overhead, and then some of those streams start to dry up, it's going to fall back to the municipality as a kind of a core partner, and that's not a good, necessarily a good place to be. So that being said, I will absolutely support giving you the grant funding this year. I think that some of the questions that I would have in terms of the long term, I think that certainly, I apologize if you sent them, but in the two documents that I got, maybe looking a bit more at financials, kind of in-depth financials. I'm very curious just on the percentage for revenue. You have the 3, 20, 25, 26, and 27. Just like what percentage is from kind of organic ticket sales versus grants and gifts and in-kind contributions, where that shows up, and kind of maybe what percentage are one-time gifts and grants versus long-term programming, programmatic. And then also just I think kind of visitor numbers, like longitudinal, like a long-term, obviously post-COVID data. I think trying to hone in on that stuff, because I think for me that's sort of the biggest question. I've been to the museum. You do excellent work. It is a gem in Quinte West. I think it's just the question of, in an environment where we have so much fiscal pressures and we have to be so exact with every dollar that we're allocating in culture and the arts, it's just a lot of legwork to make sure it's the right fit for us, I think. So
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things that throughout 2026 that we would like to work more closely with the city to make sure that we are answering these questions. I will say right now, in terms of our admission revenue, it is kind of low towards our bottom dollar, but I would also argue that that is sort of a capacity issue as well. Being located in a space that is only 5,000 square feet, we have strict limitations on the number of visitors in the space at one time. We've demonstrated our proof of value, but we do need to grow into a larger space so that our self-generated revenue can increase over time. We do, in our business plan, have methods to diversify our self-generated revenue streams to support that. And that way it would take leverage off of these one-time grants that we find through, provincial or federal or even through foundations. So it is something that we are hoping to address in more of the long term throughout 2026. But it is important that we are all in alignment towards this, because it is a big ask.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Boyce.
Thank you. And there's a saying, Deanna, that build it and they will come. And in the late 60s, my dad and a few other individuals saw a vision in Belleville for a museum. And there were a lot of skeptics ahead of time, and they got buy-in from the city. And I remember the day when Glenmore National Historic Site opened, and it was a great tribute to not only the Historical Society, but also to the city for having faith in that group through the lean times when there wasn't much money, but they came to the city. And the city supported them, knowing that culture is not, culture is so important. We talk about the Hawks, we talk about sports and everything, but we often overlook the arts and culture, right? And it's for identity of a community, it's so important. So have faith, and I'm sure the city's going to support you on this. And I look forward to, on a personal note, I look forward to seeing the High Arctic exhibit. If it's even half as good as the whale exhibit, it's going to be phenomenal.
Amazing, thank you.
Councillor Stedall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I hate to be the voice of negativity on this, but that reserve, that was $100,000. And then it came down and there was some hard times and the museum requested a release, partial release of it. And I remember conversations around the table is that we didn't want to release all of it. All of it was being requested at the time. My concern is that we don't see all of the long-term plan with regards to, I'm very skeptical about a museum being built. I know we have another museum that is trying to be built at the same time, and they've been here and they've been asking for money as well. I think I might be interested in just giving $25,000 instead of the full 50, because as soon as that 50 is gone, it comes back on our tax base, and that's next year. That's what we're going to be looking at, is that they're going to be back asking us for $50,000, because that's how much money was needed this year in order to cover their shortfall. So I'm speaking to the rest of councillors just to remind, we have had history in this museum not doing as well as we expected. And I understand 5,000 square foot is not a lot. And it is nice to dream big. I agree with Councillor Boyce, is that, you can dream big and we can perhaps get there, but I think there's a lot more detail that needs to be worked out on this before we get to that point. And so I would recommend is that we change the resolution to $25,000 being released from that reserve. And I believe Councillor Freeman, in her past, has also said that there needs to be a requirement for that money to be held onto. I know that she was very supportive of the museum, but she was also cognizant of the fact that there was a problem financially in trying to maintain it. And so that's why I'm asking is that we change the resolution, instead of the full $50,000 for the reserve goes to $25,000.
Okay, I'm coming back to Councillor Reid for the motion.
Can we have more discussion first?
Well, we can still discuss it even, but I did promise her I would come back, so. Councillor Reid, go ahead.
Thank you. To my understanding, this is the final $50,000 in the reserve fund. And so possibly it would be a wise decision then to do the 25,000, so that then they do have some to fall back on for next year, because things are tight and we need to look after our taxpayers as well. So I would be willing to change that to 25,000.
Okay, need a seconder.
I'm not seconding, your Mayor.
Your Worship,
Your Worship.
Your Worship, if I can just clarify, the $50,000 from the reserve fund is already in the budget.
Yes.
So if council wishes to change that, the resolution should be to change the amount that's already in the budget.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm not willing to do that then.
No.
So I
If
would
it's already,
Yeah, just to clarify, so I'd be asking if it's only $25,000 that's coming into the reserve fund, is that the museum be pushed back to ask to take a look at their overall budget, so that they wouldn't get it, that we wouldn't cover the balance of 25 from taxes. I'm not asking for it to be covered from the taxes this year.
I don't think we are either. Director Denoud?
Your Worship, just for clarification, it's $50,000 from the reserve fund. It's not being funded from the taxes. So the balance of the reserve fund is allocated within this year's budget, or the 2026 budget.
Councilor O'Neill, did you have?
So what I'm trying to say here is that I would say that we would keep, and we'd only allocate 25,000 out of the reserve, and that the museum board would be asked to reduce their budget by the balance of the $25,000, that the 25 not come back on the taxes. So it would be pushed back to the board, just the same as we've just already pushed back with the conservation authorities and with the health unit. We'd be pushing back to the board to say, please reduce your budget by another 25,000. We'll release 25,000 out of the reserve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this originally happened, the museum asked for $200,000. And I remember I talked to Councillor Freeman and said, I'd like it put into reserve so they have to justify what we're giving them, which she agreed to, and we looked after. And I also asked them for projections, and their projections, without the other $25,000, they'll be in a deficit. I can see what everyone else does, but I just wanted to provide some of the history that we didn't give them the whole 200,000. We put it into reserve to justify the ask. So, and I understand where you're coming from, because if we only do half, then we can have half for next year.
Go this way. Councillor Roseblade, then come.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to agree with Councillor O'Neill in regards to back when we started this 200,000 reserve, we were all skeptical. But I would say, again, after seeing what's been presented to us and your presentation and the numbers and the forecasts, this to me is the best information we've received yet. Things seem to be finally moving along. Kudos to you for the work you're doing and all of your committee. I know there's many people behind you, but I'm actually feeling quite positive about this. And I think they need to keep moving full steam ahead. If we take half the funding away from them, it could be detrimental in the progress they're making. So let's give them this last 50,000 and let's see what happens in 2026. And if your progress is what you're showing, then I think it'll be fantastic. So I support the full 50 that's already in the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to support the 50,000 that the reserve. This reserve was put in place for this very reason. It's included in our budget, and it's been a process over many years, as Councillor O'Neill said, 200,000, which we have done over time, and you've come with the numbers and the momentum and the plan to get a greater plan with numbers for the potential build. Now, I just want to be clear, we're not committing to the future here. When you bring up numbers about maybe 2017, 50,000, and all that, hey, no, I'm speaking to this budget, to this commitment that this council already made. Going forward, that's a whole different discussion, but through this, you'll have the opportunity in your board to get the details for the future. So I will honor that commitment for the full 50 as per the program, and I wish you all the best. And I appreciate what you presented today, or, I wouldn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm willing to also support the 50 for this year, but I can't say this strongly enough that I have very serious doubts about the long term. We need to really get this right. I would ask that if we're making a motion on this, I would really like to formalize the ask of any long-term KPIs that you have that you can share in terms of visitor data, whatever else you find is relevant, just so we can kind of get a better look at trajectory-wise, and also just more in-depth financial statements if possible, just to understand what percentage, because I think it's really important when the revenue is built on one-time grants or one-time private funding. Obviously, that's very tenuous and doesn't necessarily speak to the longevity of the organization, whereas in the opposite, if it's ticket based and you're talking about obviously some opportunity to grow that with a larger space, but I think it's really important to get that information for me, so I'd like to formalize that. But one question I have for council and staff, or whomever can answer this, but I obviously wasn't here when the initial ask was made by the museum, but was there an understanding or a forethought that there would be operational support at some point? Was that part of the conversation? Was that explicitly not part of the I know Deanna wasn't part of the organization that night. Can anyone answer that?
Director Denouden or CEO Angelo?
No.
Your Worship, I'm not clear of the details from a number of years ago, but I think with the understanding of a permanent location in Quinte West, that it's typical for any sort of museum operation, there would be some sort of support provided by the municipality to run the operations. I think that's standard across the province. I don't think there was any commitment made by council today, but certainly there is, I think, a general understanding. But those type of discussions will have to happen in 2026. As far as staff are concerned, Ms. Wade will be presenting that business plan for a future build. We need to all take a look at that. We need to look at the projections of revenues and expenses and make that decision going forward, and look what sort of grants or private funding is going to be happening or not. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Director Denouden, anything to add? Okay, Councillor Quinte.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So from my recollection, initially years ago when we got this set up, it was the museum had requested a lot more money, and council agreed to 200,000, and to have the museum come forward to request funds, and then we get a chance to review the scenario. I don't remember specifically about any operational expenses, but I do remember they did want to partner with the city to keep the museum viable. But anyways, I really initially wanted to say that I'm going to support that they get the $50,000, the balance of the funds, but I do have concerns about the land request that they are requesting. So I don't really know what property they are speaking of, and I'm not going to support at this time anything to do with city-owned property. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Reid had her hand up. Councillor Reid, are you on? Okay.
Yes, I still, I'm back and forth on this, of course, but my initial feeling was that we needed to release the final $50,000 from the Natural History Reserve Fund. They need it. They've proven that they have gone against all odds. They've been quite successful. Moving forward, there's no guarantees that there will be support for this, but given their track record of the way that they try to find funds and make things work, I think that they will be very successful. So I am going to stick with my initial motion of $50,000. If there's a seconder.
Your Worship, you don't need a motion. It's in the budget. We don't need a
It's
motion.
in the budget, that's right. So all
Okay,
we
thank
need-
you very much.
And I don't, what do we need? What do we need?
Your Worship, there's no motion needed unless council wants, or someone on council wants to make a motion to change the $50,000 that's in the budget.
Okay, anybody?
So I would make that motion, however, sorry. I would make that motion, however, I already know that I don't have the support, so there's no point. I guess my final say, though, on this is that I am very concerned about next year. This is going to end up on the tax rates, and this is going to be something that I've seen museums start, I've seen them open, and then I've seen them fail. Smiths Falls Rideau Canal Museum was beautiful when it opened, but it's no longer in existence. There's like a visitor center. So I support, and I go to museums, cultural, I think it's beneficial to many different people in our community, especially like you say, like there's various forms of activities that people want to go to, but when we're dealing with a tax rate increase, and we have to be cognizant of our core services, which are our roads and bridges and community services and facilities that we already have, and we've already seen us reject budgets that have come to us from other external agencies, and I think that this is just one that I can't support, but obviously I wouldn't have support on the floor for a resolution, so I want to make it clear is that I hoping that next year there will be no tax implications for this museum in the Quinte West budget.
Okay, Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would the clerk recommend, I would like to get the KPIs and financial, some financial statements. Could that, do I need to formalize that with a motion? Or what do you think? Sure, go ahead.
I'm sure that they have them, and they'll certainly present them or give them to you.
Okay,
I'm
like,
happy to send them to you, yes.
I would say even as soon as possible with that, because the worst case, I think, from your perspective, would be if we skate for a few months and other stuff becomes priorities, and then you're kind of showing up here in 9 months or talking to staff to present next year, and then it's, very late in the process if that council was to say, we don't like the look of this, don't want to have you in that position, so, yeah, as soon as possible would be great.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
send it to you.
Thanks so much.
Somebody else, Councillor O'Neill. go
Thank you,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. As one of the ones that was very skeptical, I did ask her that information in advance, and I'm sure she'd be able to provide it to you, because you've already got it prepared.
Yes.
Well, I've been here a long time, and I've visited, and I have to really personally congratulate you on the work you've done. And I was here when we supported the Natural Aviation Museum And we at that time, we put out $50,000, and we also, the mayor went golfing with somebody, and the province threw in another 50,000. So, yeah, museums, yes, you've got a tough job. Yes, you have. But I really am proud of what you've accomplished. And I'm not a dinosaur. Well, maybe I'm closer to a dinosaur than I like to admit. But yeah, I just have to congratulate you. To think of how much education teachers can gather from your building and your facility, and take students through there, and all the yeah, fantastic. So I thank you personally, and I thank you from all of the members of council. Yes, it's a tough one, but I'd say this when I look at this should not be something that impacts this year on taxes. Yes, and 2026 is an election, so we'll see who and what decisions are made by the next council. So keep working, and yes, and in any way you can communicate and work with other museums, fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'm now at the Quinte Public Library. We got somebody to make anybody, we need a presentation on this or no? Okay, you good on that one? Should be good. I'll tell you, I was here when we built this building, and we were very close to not building that library, very close. And I'm sure glad we did, because I see young people bouncing on that sidewalk, and grandmas, grandpas, mothers, fathers, and so on, bringing them in here to get resources or to get books and things that, yes. And I've told you many times, richer than I you'll never be, for I had a mother who read to me. Yes, so, okay.
So, Your Worship, if I can just, if you don't mind me interjecting, we're now at the point of committee reports, staff reports, and just prior to getting to Director Denowden's two reports on the budgets, we just want to bring up the amendment that Council's approved regarding the budget. And I believe our Swapna is going to put that up on screen for all of you to see. Or so in regards to that, and Mr. Dillon will talk about this, this is the motion that was approved by council, the only one amendment to the budget.
Yeah, just to be clear, this is the amendment. The budget, as I mentioned with strong mayors, is deemed approved, so we attach any amendment to the current budget, and then we'll review my motions in the two staff reports once council is clear on all their amendments to the budget. So if there's any additions or changes or any other amendments council would like to make, this would be the time.
Councillor Stedall?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we've been through this. It's been very detailed, the entire process, and the budget has gone through. And I know staff have made an excellent presentation about the fact that we are at a 4.99% average tax rate increase, and there's no additional new debt. We still have to deal with the old debt, but and there's increase. We've got some infrastructure. So all of those things are very positive and exactly what staff have asked for, or what council has asked for. My concern is that 4.99% increase is an average, and we do have some members of our community that are going to see a tax rate increase of over 5%, more the 4.1%, 5.41 I think is one. So I don't know how we can reduce it anymore. I don't have any other suggestions with the operations, but I'm still concerned about how we talk to our public about this when they get their tax bill at 5.41. And I don't know if the other members of council have got any other suggestions. I know we've sent a couple of budgets back, but I don't believe there's any impact in any of those budgets that's going to help reduce our tax levy that we're looking for in 2026. I guess I don't have a suggestion for any further decreases. We've tried to do a couple of different changes, but we haven't got a traction on it. So I don't know. I think we deal with this is our budget, is 5% increase, and we go with the
Counselor Quince, you're on.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering if we can move the Frankfurt Road replacement to 2026. CAO Angelo said it's in the 2027 budget, but what are the implications if we move replacement of the Frankfurt Road to 2026?
Your Worship, my concern with adding another project into the budget is we haven't planned that road project. So there's a lot of pre-engineering work to do. We got to look at the staffing resources. The plan we had proposed that we submitted as part of our capital plan this year maximizes the staff capability of completing these projects. Additionally, I'm still somewhat concerned about the arena floor slab. And although I appreciate council's direction to remove it from the budget and move it into 2027, if the engineering assessment comes back and the condition is severe, we may need to bring that back as a report to council and move that project back into 2026 or 2026, 2027. So I'm just cognizant of that. It's what sort of risk are we willing to take, I guess. And I'm still, the money's, the project's still in the 10-year capital plan, but it may need to be accelerated depending on the engineer's report. And we don't know those details yet.
Can I ask another question?
You're absolutely correct, and we know that
Can I
there
ask
have been
another
other
question, Mr.
places
Mayor?
that had something similar that shut them down. If you don't prepare and have money in there, we got to come back and try to find $2.5 million. That's going to be a real tough task. So I concur with you. Yes, Sean Beamer was the one who, I don't know, yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Grimman, any further comments on this one?
Mr. Mayor? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Just
No.
a minute. Director Grimman, anything else on that one, or, and you may not want to even, okay, thank you. All right, Councilor Quince.
So if I'm hearing Mr. Angelo correctly, that he really wants to see us do the slab replacement project, and if that's the case, that's obviously a major concern he has. So I'm going to support Mr. Angelo on that, and then I will agree then that we can do Frankfurt Road in 2027 because this is probably a similar amount of money. So I'm not going to support this motion that's put forward. I think we should do the arena first.
Thank you. Councilor Roseblade?
Thank you. So originally, I sat with Caleb Denown, the director, in regards to this, and my intention was to push it out a year till we do the report. And I said to Caleb, can we take that $2.5 million out of the capital? So the capital is going up 3 until 2030. I said, and then in 2031 it goes down to 2. I said, can we make the capital budget take that $2.5 million out this year, lower the rate, take some percentage off what the increase will be, and add it on to 2031. So instead of 332, it would be another 333. In my brain, I thought that would work. But as explained to me, if we did that, the compounding throughout the years, we would end up losing $4 million. And he did it in a spreadsheet for me. So that's really where my objective was, to delay this project just for a year, to get the interest, to get the levy rate down for this year, because 4.9 is hard to swallow. I'm sorry, inflation rate of 2.2, and we're socking people with a 4.9% on their taxes is going to be hard for people. And that was where I was trying, here's the chart here that shows what I was trying to do to jig the numbers from 333 and decrease it. And maybe Caleb can explain it better. I'm kind of mumbling, but I wanted to try to get this year down by moving that arena project. It didn't work because we're going to lose too much in the end. So I'll let the Director of Finance explain that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, through your worship, Councillor Roseblade, I think did a good job there. At the end of the day, if you move that 3% and reduce it to 2% this year and move that out further 1 year, you basically lose 835,000 of revenue for 4 years. So it's about 3.2 million in lost revenue for a capital program. And essentially, if you simply just defer projects, you don't cut them. You're just shuffling projects around in the 10-year period. And so that doesn't change your 10-year cost of capital, but it does change your revenue earned. And so, yeah, I think it's well explained. And when we look at the capital program, it's not as linear as operating. It's not simply, inflation on, we have some years where we have a bridge that costs 15 million and other years where we don't have that bridge. So you often see fluctuations in our capital spend, but the revenue for our capital levy should be linear, and we really want to attack that infrastructure deficit sooner than later. The further we delay it, the further we get behind.
Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think even like in spite of that, I think that Councillor Roseblade's motion was the correct one. Is I think that having that engineer report, certainly I think is important information for that project. CAO Angel's correct. Could potentially it could be a report come back say that it does in fact need to be done this year, but I think that's an important piece of data. But I wouldn't just having sat on the asset management subcommittee working group, there is still value. It is true that there isn't the tax rate effect, and the sooner that we get these years with the capital levy, we can get that under control. The more years that we have of this, including it, but extending the lifespan of these assets, like this ice pad, like as I mentioned yesterday, maybe it was intended to be 20 years initially, and it was installed. These are arbitrary numbers. I don't know what the lifespan was, but say it was 20, and we're able to make hard decisions like we did when we were doing that asset management plan, deciding on the service levels. If it lasts 25 years, that's a 20% reduction in its cost per year over its life. That is a win. Like that is how you save money on the asset in the asset management. Would you agree, Director of Finance, that basically extending lifespan, like we're trying to do with this, if the engineer's report isn't dire, that is how we actually save money on the asset management?
Yeah, through worship, that's absolutely right. The BMA study, I believe, has something called the asset consumption ratio, which talks about that and getting the most use out of your life, or the most life out of your assets, as Councillor Carty is explaining. That's the most prudent financial thing you can do.
And I can just share briefly that there's obviously a trade-off there, because there are some places like with the roads and the crack sealing and some of those treatments that we're doing where some money up front extends the lifespan and actually will end up lowering the cost per year of its life. I know that as well. So I guess it's kind of, it depends on your asset, kind of, which is the way to go.
Okay, Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councillor Stedall, I concur with you with regard to how we're going to express the differences of 5.1% and then Sydney Murray 5.41%. Without street lights, and then street lights 4.11 and Frankfurt 5.15 for the average of 4.99. And it's really communicating that. And I had a good discussion with Director Denowden in terms of paying more in Sydney if you have street lights, because it's area rated and they had a credit and it's being transferred. And so that, I wanted to get that message out, Director, because I've had questions and I'm sure others have. So it's an average, but to your point, Councillor, asking what can we do, when I look at this, of that 4.99, 2.58 is capital. And to Councillor Card's point, we've been working on this asset management plan. We are behind. We need more capital. And so the only reason we're not at the 3% as per what we needed to be doing was because we got that additional fund. And we we have to keep doing our infrastructure, or there's going to be a big increase in the future. And so it's really difficult. Operating budgets, our department operating budgets are only at 0.75, under 1%. And that's been really difficult, and a lot of it's going to healthcare, and we don't have the provincial funding that we lost. External services, that's a big part. 2.58 external partnerships. And all of them that we sit on don't have the provincial funding that we had. So they too are fighting to even get to this. And we push them back, like conservation authorities and others, and the health unit to have a secondary look. But there, we heard the health unit is struggling too, but we need the programs. We need these programs. So to answer your question, Councillor Stedall, I know we've all gone through this. I can't find a big, something that's going to significantly impact this number. So, but I think explaining that this is an average, and there will be components in the community that are higher and lower and so forth, but we got to keep that capital program because we can't go back. Thank you.
Yeah, two things. We circle back to that 25 or 2.5 million pad thing. It's already been carried, so there's no need to debate it again, right? It's already done, mute point. But I think it's 5.14 or 4.99, if I correct those are two differences. Percentages mean nothing. How much is that in dollars?
Through worship,
right?
if you look to page 31, the yearly increase is there for each ward.
Right.
And so we set an average of $199 per year, and that on the low end, it's about $160 for some homeowners, and at the high end, it's $218. So again, 199 is in between those two numbers. Different residents will have different increases, but low end 160, high end 220, average is 199.
Yeah, $3.50 a month, I think, 0.15 for Murray Ward, $3. $3.50, okay.
Okay, anything under new business? Anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I wanted to comment on the asset management and the capital levy of 3%.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So with the capital levy at 3%, and as Councillor Card mentioned about being in these sessions, I actually was pushing for 4%, but then finally agreed with others that we would go with 3% as long as it would stay at 3%. Because if we don't do it this way, it's only going to cost more money. It is actually cheaper for us to have the capital levy in place so that we don't have to borrow money, which we would then pay interest on, to do the capital projects that we are going to have to do anyways, which I think Councillor Card touched on as well, that and it might have been another councillor, I can't remember right now, that touched on the fact that these projects, we have to do these projects whether we like it or not, and it's cheaper if we have the money in place so that we don't have to borrow money to do these projects. And then one more comment about the tax rate, and I think this was touched on as well, is that yes, Quinte West is charging an average of 4.99% tax rate, but it's not just Quinte West. It's the health unit, it's the OPP, it's Hastings County, all the services that come with being a part of the city that are contributing to the tax rate. And that gentleman that came earlier, who tried to tell us to reduce the tax rate, well, I can tell him there's an election next year and anybody else is welcome to run in the election. One of the reasons why I initially ran in the election is because I wanted to learn how a city worked and how they came up with the things that they come up with. And I have to say, I'm still learning. Anyhow, I'm going to support the current tax rate There's not really much more that I think we can do. I think our staff has done an amazing job in guiding us to this point in time, with all of the pressures that are coming from all over the province, the country, the world. We aren't magicians, never have been, never will be. Mr. Mayor, you've been doing this job for a really long time, along with Councillor Allier, being on these councils all these times. I don't know how you've done it and kept a smile on your face the whole time. Anyways, thanks very much.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. And the way I've got a little bit different perspective, and I think when we all got our mortgages and they gave us based on 25 years or 17 years, we all had the feeling, you know what? We look at it and we're going to pay it off in 14 years, and we're going to save, because we realized that there was going to be added interest in the if we went to the full term. And now we're saying, how far can we go out, like beyond the distance where we feel comfortable? And what I'm trying to get at is that I would have loved to have paid off my mortgage sooner. I simply couldn't afford to. And I look at the taxpayers and I say, can they afford? They would like to not see us get added interest, but can we realistically afford not to? And I would have been happy years ago. Quinte West had, I think, for their capital levy, I think it was like 1% when they first came off. And when I first got on council, I think we doubled it to 2%. I remember saying that to Councillor Card. I said, oh, you know, when he was looking at more, I said, I think we've doubled it from 1% to 2%. So it's not like if I put a motion forward and I said, let's bring it down to 2.25%, it's not like I'm saying let's do less than what we used to. I'm still saying let's do more than what we used to. We may not be able to pay it off as quick as we want to. In the perfect world, we want to pay it off as fast as we can. But sometimes reality, happens and we can't pay it off. So I'm going to put forward a motion that we, with our capital levy, we go 2.25%, which I'm comfortable with, knowing that when I came on council years ago, there was 0, and when I came on this council, there was 1%. And so now I'm saying, let's go 2.25%, and it'll ease the burden for our residents currently in this community. We hear it all the time. People are suffering, and they are. And I would put forward a motion, I don't know if I have a seconder, but to put our capital levy at 2.25%.
I'll come back. I've got some other people here who want to make comments.
Okay.
Councillor O'Neill, are you on?
Not right now.
Everybody's good? Everybody's good? Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. And no, I remember the conversation, Councillor Boyce. This is one of the hardest decisions that we have to make here. I certainly, coming in as a new councillor myself, was aware of 2022 with the 1% capital levy, but I didn't expect to see the charts and the reserves going down and the debt going up, and being told that 4% was now the appropriate number just to start at every year, certainly. And these are some of the most difficult choices that we have, because it does cost the community more the longer that we drag it out, and that inclination of lowering the immediate burden on taxpayers, right? That reflex gets you into that situation in the first place if there's an asset management gap, and then a levy to address it, and then not fulfilling the terms of it. So it is a very difficult. It is a very difficult balance between those two, saying, yes, this is going to provide a little bit of immediate. I mean, I could support 2.25, realistically. Is that going to make a significant, difference necessarily in the community versus the costs over time? I don't think it's going to make a little bit of tax relief, but these are the difficult, because it balancing these things are extremely difficult, and I appreciate the feedback that we do get from the community. I would just note that, as others have before, that operations of this increase this year, 0.75. That is a tremendous accomplishment for our internal departments. And though I don't have any ideas right now to affect this, Councillor Stedall asked for that. I do have some technology and innovation ideas after we're done budget, but I think that staff should be proud of this number, and I think that our external partners, we have to continue to be tough on where we can. I imagine it's super frustrating for internal staff to see, these really low numbers, but then outside, partners are coming in at very big numbers, and there's no easy answer on any of this.
Councillor Stedall, make it short because
I will, don't worry, sir.
Oh, I'm
I will
sorry.
say that when we first started here on this term of council, we started with our original budgets, where this multi-year budget was going to be in increases over 4 years of 10.25, 9.15, 6.83, and 6.49. And we have achieved every year to get below that target. So I believe this council has done really good work to try and get there, and I believe this budget really does portray that. That it's been whittled back again. I still, I do agree with Councillor Boyce is that there might be, I believe, some efficiencies that we should be able to find in our capital program. It sat on that asset management panel, and we did some really good work to get it where it is, but there is more work, I think, that needs to be done in looking at the cost of replacement for our capital assets, just like we've taken a look at the operations. And the other item of note that I get from constituents on a regular basis is how many staff do we have and how much are the staff getting paid? And that's a horrible topic that people want to talk about, but it is something. So we have to continue to take a look at our operations, including our human resources. They're our most valuable asset, even above the other assets that we have. And I am not meaning to diminish it, but I do get that question from outside. I just wanted to flag it, that it's something that we maybe should be taking a look at if we do have any attrition, is maybe we take a look at alternate forms of staffing in the future.
Councillor O'Neill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I look at the budget book and I look at our municipal at 0.75%, the majority of our costs are wages that have gone up 3%. I'm very happy with what you've done on that. Thank you. Our biggest problem is external agencies like the OPP, like the Health Board. With the debt that we have now, to reduce the capital levy with compounding effect, as a responsible person in charge of this, I can't support the reduction in the capital levy. I don't like that increase, but our share of what we've done, I think, is done very well. And I just can't support the reduction in the capital levy based on our debt and everything else.
Thank you.
Yeah, long before I got elected, I had a very smart gentleman who was a politician say to me, once you get elected, you never look at anything the same again. Now you're standing on top of the fence and you see both sides. You're never going to please everybody, but I'm a taxpayer as well, lifelong resident here. We are doing our damnedest to do the best for the citizens of Quinte West, including ourselves. And I can't support any reduction this time. I think we've done a great job. Kudos to staff, council, everybody for bringing in a 4.99 average. If we reduce anything for short-term gain, it's going to result in long-term pain. So I'm very proud of what we've accomplished here. I stand behind it, and I thank you all, and I will be voting in support of this budget as it stands.
Councillor Elliott.
Yes, I'm going to acknowledge in the same respect that the councillors around have mentioned. I agree with most everything. It's a tough row to hoe. As I've said in the past, the provincial government is not carrying their load. In our external agencies, it's been cut back, and it's downloading to the taxpayer, and we're the bottom end of that. And so our staff has to come up with some, I guess, special thing to try to cover that and to still provide the same service. And as Councillor Stedall had mentioned, yes, we've had some higher increases the last few years. We've got them down. I think staff done a great job. I come into before this budget meeting, I could have accepted it as presented because I think our staff done a great job pursuing everything that they did. I don't like debt. We've had to take on debt. We've built new facilities, upgraded our facilities. Yes, the OPP costing is up there. It kind of concerns me when there's a double-digit increase, but when I look at our neighbors at a $36 million policing, they got, 10,000 more people than we do, yet we police more area than they do. Even at 26 million where they're at now, I don't know how the taxpayers down there could swallow that. So even looking at the OPP one, I think we're somewhat getting a bargain and a good service at the time. I think you have to look at that. But you know, over the years, the poor old municipal tax dollars, I've said many, many times since I've been in municipal politics, is getting stretched more all the time. We're carrying more loads all the time. And it's reflected in these too, because all the external agencies are starving because they're getting cut back. So what do? They come back to us to prop them up. But I think the budget we've had presented is excellent, and I'm going to support it as the status quo is what's in front of us. So thank you.
Go to another meeting. Councilor Reid have to go to another meeting. So any more comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Go ahead.
The capital levy, the asset management plan was presented to council with the 3% back a number of months ago, and we all accepted it. So as Councillor Ellier's comments, I agree with what he's had to say about all those comments, and I am also going to be supporting the budget as presented, just to let you know. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Card. Councillor Kotsovo, one of you two guys.
You can go first.
Sorry.
Thank you.
One of you council members.
I appreciate the comments and that we are trying to lower the number, but by 0.25%, it's not worthwhile. I agree with what's been said around the table. If it were over 1%, then you can fight for that a little bit more. You can justify that to the residents, but these little numbers are just going to impact how the city is run and not in a positive way. So I will be supporting the budget as it is in this, but I would like to comment in future. It wasn't just the one resident. I do have a concern about the fleet. It's not just him. We've had multiple people come up for public input. I've had phone calls. I would like to have a look at, are they still driving one per person? Like, I know they had to do that during the pandemic. I would just like to see that there's more efficiencies. Can they trade? I'm not talking about snow plows and large vehicles, but just city vehicles that are either like a small SUV or a pickup truck. Can they not share those between departments and have more efficiencies in our smaller fleet vehicles?
Okay, I think CEO Angelo can comment on that, but I'm not, do you want to comment now or do you want to let us do it later? Can we save that comment?
We can, Your Worship, but I can tell you quite honestly, that is what staff are looking at, and you can see very shortly we're going to look at some reductions of the vehicles here parked at City Hall over the winter season and more sharing of vehicles between departments.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, when we're done with a vehicle, that vehicle is history. Yeah, that's my opinion. I have a half-ton, I have a three-quarter ton, and I don't, but anyways. Anything else this way? Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to actually touch on that spoke to Director Angelo. I think that the two things, obviously, the staffing and fleet get brought up a lot by residents. CAO Angelo mentioned about it's something staff is looking at right now, fleet utilization and some of those things, which is very valuable, I think, to revisit that. And as is noted, there are no new staff hires in the operating budget this year, too. I know that's been brought up by a few, some of the public input. This is strange in the sense that when you think about it, like Councillor Stedhall said at the start of the term, this is, we have, it's a good budget compared to the baseline that we were looking at the start of the term. I think it was, 34% or something compounded over the term, 8% and change, I think the average 9%. But at the same time, as Councillor Roseblade said, 2.2, what have you, CPI inflation rates ran, were more than double that. So it's also, very frustrating in that sense. So take the good with the bad, and I think that, having those conversations, I mentioned some of the tech and innovation, I think we should all, think about opportunities for long-term savings, I guess, because same with the asset management plan, that should be revisited also. Everything should be on the table, because I know it is really hard in the community with these continued tax rates.
Do we have a mover and a seconder yet, or no, for the budget?
You have Councillor Boyce moved a motion, so if there's no seconder for it.
Okay, so recommendation, you moved the recommendation?
No, I moved the motion to bring the capital down to 2.25.
Okay, no seconder.
Nope.
Okay, so do you want to move this motion? Okay, okay. Councillor Armstrong, thank you very much. Councillor McHugh seconds. All in favor? That's what I need to know. Carried, thank you. And I think that you've done a great job. I really appreciate.
One more, sorry, water and sewer. This was the city one. We'll do one more. We'll get it on the screen here.
Okay, water, wastewater. Well, moved by Councillor Stedall, seconded by somebody. I can't do it. Councillor Armstrong. Get extra money today. Thank you.
And we've got one more possible motion. Now that we have the budget approved, we do want to bring forward a couple options in terms of the strong mayor powers. We can reduce the timelines if council wishes. There weren't really many amendments here, so the timelines don't necessarily need to be as long as they are legislated. I have up on the screen here the current legislated timelines. See that council's amendment period still goes to January 1. The mayor's veto period is 10 days between January 2nd and 11th. And then council's veto override would occur between January 12 and 26. Considering there is only one amendment, we could use either option 2 to reduce these periods up until Jan 14th, or option 3, which is my recommendation, is that we reduce the amendment period till today, the mayor veto December 12th to 13th, and then council veto override, if required, would be December 14th to 17th. That means by December 17th, the budget would be finalized.
Can I ask a question? Did we vote on the water?
Not yet. No, we decided to move it a seconder.
Okay. Okay, before we get to this point, so, okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
All in favor of the water or wastewater? Oh, question? Sorry. Have you got a question on the water, wastewater?
No.
Okay, then we're all in favor.
Yes.
Carried, thank you. All right. Okay, now
My
what's your
question is-
question? Or what's your comment?
Remind me, Mr. Denowden mentioned there's an amendment. Remind me, please, what the amendment is to the budget.
Okay.
Yes, Your Worship. The amendment is to defer the arena floor pad replacement out of the capital budget.
No, I don't support that. No.
It's already carried.
It's already passed.
Already passed. Can I put a motion on the floor that we go with option 3, as recommended by the Director of Finance?
Sure. I agree.
Okay.
All in favor?
Need a
Carried.
seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, O'Neill
computers.
seconds. Councillor O'Neill seconds, sorry. I'm getting your name shorter and shorter. Okay, all in
Recorded
favor of
vote.
that? Okay, carried. What else do you need?
Move printed and non-printed information.
I have a conflict on one item in that, so just a reminder.
Okay, I don't even. Yeah, okay, I haven't even paid attention to that, but I need to, is there anything in there you want to talk about? Otherwise, I'm going to just accept it and go to bylaws. And, any other new business? I haven't got time for any, so we'll go to bylaw, confirmation bylaw. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Confirmation bylaw, Councillor Roseblade, Councillor Allier, and 2 for adjournment. Councillor O'Neill, Councilor Rosemary. We're done. Thank you very much, and thanks to staff. I really think we've done a great job, and that'll be my comment. So if anybody, yeah, thank you.